Hello everybody, how is everybody doing this evening? Back with another chit chat show and maybe a debate, who knows? Let's see who's around, let's see who wants to jump on and have a little debate. But I think I've titled the stream Goodbye August, Hello September. Wow, the year goes quickly. I tell you, these years as you get older, they fly by. I am telling you now, they absolutely fly by. But what isn't going to fly by right now is the show. So I'm going to do a few shout outs to some of the people that are already in the chat. We have SE Montreal, nice to see you in. Good Servant, oi oi. We've got Paul Keeling, how's it going, mate? How's the photography going down at Blackpool? Flat Earth Data, nice to see you in, mate. Brian Shuker. We had our conversation. Hopefully you can well, I don't want to say too much, but looking forward to what else you can prove with the dump that you've got. Who you? Nice to see you in. F.E. Evangelist, Chris, Matt, Seek and Find, and Red Sabbath. Good evening to everybody, and we do have some people in the show channel too. We've got Brian Leak, we have Aaron, and we have Lick the Wacky something or other. How is everybody in the show channel as well? So apparently nobody can hear anything in the show channel. I don't know why that is. You should be able to hear. You need to take yourself off mute perhaps. And cannot speak, I guess. Okay, right, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to change to the general channel. I did have some people in the show channel, so let's flip channels. Let me go into the general channel. I'll log out there. I'll disconnect from that, go to the general, and hopefully we'll pick you up in there. Right, in the meantime, I'm going to shout out my channel members. If I can find them, that is. Hang on, let me have a look. See, I did have them up ready to go. This is the there we go. Here we go. So my channel members, currently I have 22 channel members. How awesome is that? Right, so I've got Rodney B, who's a fish, Aaron Armstrong, who's a whale, Helvetica Bold is a shrimp, Rob Keane is a shrimp, John Lloyd is a shrimp, Second Best Bob's a shrimp, and Godzilla's a shrimp. Silent Zero is a fish with Brian Leak. And we have Jim Sullivan, who's a shrimp, and Hell and Degenerates is a fish. Tony V is a fish. Amanda Young is a shrimp with Chris the Flat Earther. Darwin's a fish. Michael is a whale. We have Mr. Baggy 67 is a shrimp. Sam Hain, woohoo, is a shark. We have Wind Rider, who's a fish. Good Servant's a shrimp. Ali B's a whale, and Del West Watson is a fish. So thank you everybody for the channel memberships. Very much appreciated there. Right, can anybody hear me in the general chat? Surely there must be somebody hearing me in the general chat. Everybody's there waiting. Speak up, speak up. Tell you what I will do. I will reload my Discord. How's that? These
Ranty, you definitely heard.
Hey, there we go. Hey, I can hear everybody now. It was playing up on my end for some reason, not sure why. But hello, how is everybody doing? Hansel's Jimbo, Lick the Wacky something or other. And Brian Link needs to change channels as well. There we go. Crow, nice to see you as well. How is everybody? I know I can hear you in there, guys.
I can hear you. Hello.
There we go. That's better. Right. So we got that fixed. It was obviously something on my end. The Discord seemed to have crashed whilst I was just starting the stream up. So, right. Okay. So, how is everybody? Raki Life as well. Nice to see you in, mate. How's it going?
Good. Fixing to get a massage. I'm gonna relax and listen to you.
A massage. It's all right for some, mate.
The key to not being on medicine, right, massage girl? she said absolutely. She gets rid of all my toxins, and I've been at Gym Pandas, so I have a lot to get rid of right now.
oh, the pain. I can feel it already.
The stench is gonna come out.
Ratty, did you upset Brian?
Brian, no. Why? What's?
Why is he sitting alone in the show channel?
I don't know. Maybe you should go and just tell him that he's in the wrong
Yeah,
channel. That would be cool. So I did have something to share with you guys. Actually, it was. Hang on, let me get it up, ready to play. It's nothing flat earthy. It's nothing flat earthy at all. It's hang on, let's get it ready to play first. There we go. I'll just share this with you because I thought it was. I watched my friend. He did a skydive, and he was just filming, you know, randomly. And the people that obviously went and did the skydive before him, they were coming into land. But also at the same time, the plane was coming into land. Oh dear me! I have to tell you, I'm going to play the video anyway. See what you think. I'm going to mute it up because it doesn't really need the volume on this. But I tell you what, talk about a close call. I'm not actually too sure that I would have gone skydiving with these guys after watching this. Here we go. There he goes. There's a guy coming into land. Oh, there goes the plane. I even slow it down here so you get a pretty decent shot of that. Here we go, and then the plane, he only misses him by about 50 feet. I mean, that is too close for comfort, I'd say. Far too close for comfort. Let's see. Oh, I was getting a few comments actually about this particular video. I don't know if you guys have seen this one. You might have seen it on the video that I put with the rumpus in. So I'm just going to play this anyway. I thought this was funny.
Remember, you know. Okay, so some people were, you know, they were doing some stuff, and then other people were like, hey, don't do that stuff, and then other people were like, hey, yeah, they should do, you know, that stuff. It's good that they're doing that stuff. And then the other people are like, I don't think they should be doing that stuff. And then the one, they're doing, so things are like, what I'm trying to say is that, in conclusion, I have no idea.
That makes me giggle, I have to say.
I thought this is Jeff Bridges, but that's too old for him.
No, it's definitely not Jeff Bridges. Oh, that was just it was quite a funny thing because I was actually doing the video with the rumpus when this popped up on the feed too, and I just thought this would go well at the just go at the end because I could just see that after the day's work, you know, that you guys are going to do, well, not you, but Rumpus is going to do down at the Bedford Levels experiment. I can just tell that this is going to be what's happening at the end. You're all going to say, well, we should have done this and we should have done that, and we didn't know who was doing what, and we couldn't control everything because it's going to be such a ball ache to organise. Oh, I can already see the downfall already, but hey ho, I suppose that's just me being over pessimistic. Maybe I haven't got a lot of faith in what Rumpus can perform, I think. Or maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised, who knows. So we were supposed to be getting a guy on tonight, this Tommy Gronveld. He hasn't joined, has he? I don't see him in here. Let's see. No, I don't see him in here. Well, if he pops by, yeah, I'm happy to have a chat with him because he did say that he wanted to come in and discuss his observation. Well, yeah, I'd like to have a discussion about that too. So, what happened over at Gem Pandas then?
I have no clue.
Was Jose live today as well? Because I didn't see his show. I didn't think he popped on. Nobody? No idea?
No idea.
No.
I'm in the server, but I don't go there much.
Okay, have you got anything for us today then, Crow? Have you got any proofs you want to talk about?
Yes, I made a small video today, like 25 seconds. So maybe it's related to the sun size.
Okay, is that on your channel?
Yes.
Okay, let's see if I can bring it up then. It's CROWXE, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, flat Earth, the angular size of the sun, 23 seconds, right, okay. I'll put this up and then I'll share screen so that you can see if you need to talk anything about it. So let's take that off there, share screen. Okay, right, so ready to play. Near question mark is there any volume in this, or is it just
No, there's some talking, but it's obvious. Just let it play, even without audio. It's very clear.
Okay.
Some people believe that the angular size.
Hang on, let me put that up a bit. Oh, it's up full. Right, okay.
Some people believe that the angular size of the sun changes during sunset, and they take that as a proof that it's moving away from us on a flat Earth. I find that to be very funny. That's it.
Okay. Well, let's play it again because I kind of missed that. I kind of
Some
missed
people
the point. So hang on, let me see if I can get the point second time around. Here we go.
Some people believe that the angular size of the sun changes during sunset, and they take that as a proof that it's moving away from us on a flat Earth. I find that to be very funny.
Huh. Okay. Have you got any proof that the sun doesn't change its angular size at sunset?
I can say no, I don't have a proof. Personally, I don't. But as you see, these two images that I was flipping one after another, they were just a reflection of the atmosphere or humidity or clouds of something that's not even circular. So some images are presented to us showing a huge sun, and it's something like what we've just seen now.
So you're equating the. So I see what you're trying to say. You're trying to say that the explosion coming from the rocket is. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the glare. You're trying to say that it's the glare. The glare can be a different size at different times.
Yes, the atmosphere, because it was passing in clouds or something like that.
Okay. So isn't that my argument though?
Yeah, I know, but the other day there was an image shown that of the sun so huge and then getting smaller and smaller until it dim, and the kind of sun or the kind of light that I saw in that footage was just something like this.
So do you? Okay. So what on this show you mean the sun getting smaller and smaller till it disappears? It never actually set, did it?
No, it didn't get smaller. It was already small, but it was shown to be big because of the clouds or whatever atmospheric phenomena that was there.
Okay, so like I say, isn't that our argument? For flat earthers, I mean, we all know that optically, if you take away the glare of the sun, if you were able to do that with your eyes, then for me personally, where I live, when if I was watching the sun setting, right, I wouldn't see this ginormous ball of glare that sets, right? I would actually see just a pinprick setting, because that's how small the sun would be optically.
I sometimes see it also, but not as small as you saying, like maybe a thumb width or something like that. It's very clear and distinct, but not with the huge glare.
Yeah, well, here it's more like
Yeah.
a fist. Here you could
Wow.
hold. Yeah, when I say it's big, it's massive. That's why I say when I see video in different parts, Australia and all this, and I see the sunsets over there, they look so different to what I see. I see
But
just a big fat sun just set. It just goes down like a big fat balloon, right? And it's ginormous, right?
with your naked eye,
Yes, with my naked eye. Yeah, it's massive.
that's funny.
Well, no, it's not funny. It's huge. You know what we see setting is huge.
You're saying a fist size? That's like 5 times the size that I usually see here.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And when I see the ones that are portrayed in Australia and the ones that just go further and further away and get smaller and smaller and smaller, I could say that they're the size of a little fingernail. You know, they're like a little fingernail thing that just disappears. Whereas here, we just see this. This is when I've said to you this many a time. You know, when we see the sunsets here in Blackpool, they're just giant ball of glare that sets. Just a giant ball.
And do you think the solar filter would solve these problems from noontime to sunset time?
Well, I do know that Rude Earth has been working on that actually, and he actually put a couple of videos out about that. And
Is he in UK?
yeah, he sees the same sunset that I do. So he's, I don't know, maybe 50 miles south of me, but he sees essentially the same sunset over the same ocean. So, you know, he will see a very similar sunset to what I would see.
Yeah, so we'd like to see that when he's done.
Yeah, well, he does it with and without. I think I'd have to. It'd be interesting to bring him in and see if he's around. Actually, if Rude Earth is in, give us a call, mate, and hop on the panel. Because he has. I know that he's been tracking this. I know that he's been working on it. So I don't want to spoil his videos in case he puts something out. But
yeah, I understand.
yeah, let's see if I'll just quickly look at his channel actually, and just see if he's actually put anything out recently. Right, no, his last video was about a month ago. So see, since the lockdown, you know, he's been able to go back to work, and I know that he has been working every day. So he's clearly just catching up, and I don't see he's got any of those sunset videos actually. He showed them me personally. So he showed me these sunset videos personally, but he doesn't have them on his channel. So the best thing I can do is just hope that he maybe pops in and shows you what he's captured more recently.
Yeah, maybe he got some footage, but still didn't make a video.
But yeah, so like I say, so when the sun sets here, it's just a thudding great, ginormous ball that sets, and in other places we see a very, very small fade away, sun fade away. It just fades away and disappears into nothing. So that can't work on a globe. I'm sorry, it can't. If we're all spinning around and we're all the same distance virtually from the sun, we should all see a very similar sunset.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So I don't suppose you've got any video footage of where you live, of any sunsets?
I think I do, but it disappeared before sunset. It disappeared within the smog, bad visibility. Well, I'll try to find it anyway.
Right. See, I've probably got about 4 or 5 different sunsets that I've gone out to film here, but it's never been something that's been on the forefront of my research. Because I don't go down to film the sunset. It's just that if I've been out with the camera and it's been at sunset, I've taken the pictures. So, I don't go out of my way to record the sunset. I wish I had, because I'd have a whole lot to show you. I'm just gonna have a quick look, see if I can actually find anything. But unless you actually, sorry, go on.
Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, unless you actually visit where I live, if you ever visited Blackpool and you'd see the sunset for yourself, you would know what I meant when I say that it is just like a giant ball that sets.
Okay, you have a P900 or P1000?
I do.
Okay, so maybe you have any friend or someone on your channel that has the same camera, so you both can adjust the same amount of zoom or focal length or whatever, and each one on his location film the sunset, and you can compare it.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's something that I'm actually thinking of setting up this month. So you've actually sort of like preempted what I'm actually intending to do. So you've kind of, you're not spoiled anything, because it was something that I was gonna do it as a. But now that I'm actually talking about it, why not? So anybody that, well, we'll get around to setting a day or a week. Actually, I would say probably a week would be better, mainly because you can go out and you can film the sun all day and it's beautiful, and when it comes to sunset, they've got clouds in the background that cover everything up and you don't see the actual sun setting. So yeah, it can be frustrating, and that can happen anywhere. So I'm going to probably I'm going to organise for a week or so of people worldwide, that can go around and get down to somewhere where they can actually see the sun disappearing over water at sunset. So, and then we'll all make sure that we film it with the same focal length, so we've got some comparable pictures. And I'd be amazed if they didn't come back as different sizes.
And I think it doesn't have to be over ocean. I mean, if it's just land, but you know that this land is not like a mountain, so it's okay. It would work. It's just to broaden your selections.
Well, how far are you away from doing any of these as well?
I can do it better, but I don't have a camera.
What's this here? The sunset. I'm sure whether. Hold on. Right, yeah, this was a pretty good video actually. What do you think's happening in this video? Let me share my screen. Hang on. Screens. Oh, there we go. Right, here we go. I've knocked the music off because I actually put this video out on my channel, so you may well have already seen it. But what do you think's happening in this video? This isn't my video. But I'm obviously asking you to look at the reflection here. Why do you think I'm asking you to look at the reflection? Crow.
Lagging at my end, I'm not sure.
So yeah, why do you think?
I think I saw it before. Dims get smaller and then.
Yeah, but why would I see in the video? I ask you to look at the reflection. So why do you think I'm asking you to look at the reflection?
Oh, I think I have to drop.
Why? All right, okay. Well, maybe come back another time. Right? Is anybody else in here that could perhaps answer this? Why do you think I've asked that we should look at the reflection, Jimbo?
Okay. I was afraid to turn into a so I had to drop briefly.
Okay. So why have I asked you to look at the reflection in this?
Well, I don't know why yes, the reflection. I couldn't see the whole video, but I think I saw it before. I don't know why the reflection disappears at the final moments. I have no clue. I can't explain it for both models. If I tried.
Well, we can.
Okay.
The sun just isn't powerful enough to create a reflection. As the sun dissipates,
Yeah, maybe.
And also I want you to look at the reflection here. So the end of the waters where my cursor is, well, there's no reflection on that part, but there's reflection here, right? Now, if this was on a globe, the last part for reflection that would be at the top part, wouldn't be at the end here, it'd be at the top. That's where the last place you'd get the reflection. You wouldn't get the reflections down here. You get it up near the horizon. And if the sun, is still really above the horizon, let's say, in your model, Why is it not causing the reflection?
Well, you talked about the intensity of the light, and that would work for both models. If the intensity is not enough for the flat Earth, then it's not strong enough for the globe. But I still can't, I don't want to, make some brain fart and say why the reflection disappears. Maybe it needs some thinking.
Can you also see the size of the two suns that I took inside the? I took a screenshot and put them next to each other. There's the sun at one point. There's the sun at another point. Can you see the difference? Because you said that the sun doesn't get smaller at. There we go. How's that one? You said that the sun doesn't get smaller at sunset. What's happening there?
It definitely gets dimmer.
I see the real sun inside of this. It looks to me like the real, or what appears to be at least the real sun, is in the middle of this glare, still glare, and you can still see. It's got a little bit of glare at the bottom, but the real sun is tiny inside the middle. And that was the last frame that we got on this particular video, unfortunately, because it cut out. But to all intents and purposes, the sun actually doesn't even set. And look at this. Because you said that the sun doesn't get smaller. You said the sun does not get smaller at sunset. Yes. So if this is the real sun on the right, and it looks to me like there is a ball shape here, and that looks to be a bit of glare underneath it, right? But if this is still the real sun, why haven't we got the glare at the top anymore? Where's that gone? And if that's the real sun in the middle, then what's this? What's this over here?
I cannot see where you're pointing, but I think that the bigger sun, I can see there's a disk and there's a like some kind of an orange halo around it. And yeah, for the other sun, well, we still don't know the atmospheric conditions, the visibility. That I mean, you couldn't even see reflection. The reflection ceased to exist. So the light intensity is getting very tiny, and you cannot judge the size at that moment.
So it's my contention here that where I sit, we see sunsets here where I am. We always, you can follow the reflection all the way up to your feet as the sun sets, right? We lost this reflection long before it even got close to the horizon, right? And also, it appears to be much smaller because, and this is right near the horizon. I haven't taken this from the start of the video. This is towards the back end of the video, and you can definitely see that it's getting smaller because you put a video, like I said, you've put this video out today saying that you find it hilarious that flat earthers think that the sun gets smaller as it goes towards the sunset.
Well, actually, I was picking on one observation that I saw the other day, where it was, cloudy or hazy, and that was not glare. It was something else. It was the sun is lighting the clouds, or the sun is lighting the haze or the water particles, and everyone said that's the size of the sun. So when I saw this footage from yesterday's launch, it immediately hit me. This looks the same as the sun that everyone was saying this is the actual size of the sun and getting smaller. Now, this observation that you're showing here, this is more credible. I mean, it's not with a solar filter, but yeah, we can see it looks smaller. But I still wouldn't, trust any observation without a solar filter.
Okay. Well, I mean, we're here. I'm not here to twist your balls off or anything like that. But it was just because you said that you find it hilarious that flat earthers think that, when this video is, pretty much just demonstrating to you that, we see this, we film this, and sure, it's not every single time because there's a lot of glare mostly, but it's also been measured with the solar filter. I mean, Wolfie, for instance, put his video out, and I was able to measure a change in his photography when he used a solar filter.
Go on, Randy.
My mic working here? Hello, everybody. Is this working at all?
Yeah, that's working. Yeah. Who's?
Great. If I can cut in, there's a lot of live feed cameras from all over the world, Mediterranean, you name it. And if you check them out sometimes, the sun in the afternoon seems massive. You know, you look at all of these different cameras and these different sunsets and stuff, and the sun during the day. Oh my gosh, is there variety in size? So it partly depends, I think, where you are, location of the sun, and conditions. You know, um, warm water and air moves upward over bodies of water. It forms almost like bell-shaped domes. So when the sun is beyond that and it's shining through one of them, it's going to be magnified a bit, you know, depending on the conditions, the angles. So, you know, to say, oh, I'm taking some pictures at sunset here this one day, and it don't look to be changing much. Again, it's one of the problems is you can't tell that from a photo, no more than you can prove the Earth is flat from a photo.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. You know, I mean,
It's
it's
huge, the difference in the sun sizes.
I think it comes back to how we actually see as well, right, Jimbo? All of these things have to be sort of brought under the microscope.
Yeah, sometimes if you're looking at something in the sky and there's nothing to compare it to, like the horizon, buildings, trees, its scale, you can't really, your brain can't scale it properly. So though it may be the same size as it would be, say, the moon coming up on the horizon sometimes. It looks huge. But then when it's up in the sky a bit a few hours later, it seems a lot smaller. Is it really? Or is it just what you were comparing it to? And when it's higher, you don't have the same comparison, same
Right.
perspectives.
Right. More so, I was sort of thinking in terms of what's actually happening when we get to see. Of course, when the sun goes away, everything turns dark and the dew settles. I myself have the feeling that an intrinsic aspect to how we perceive things is this interaction between the sun's energies and the water. It's water, water everywhere. And this sort of scintillation of the water in the air by the sun, I think it is a major part to play in what we actually get to see. But yeah, Ranty, I'd love to see you, as I mentioned. Uh, what did you say? Twist Crow's balls off? I'd love to see you. There's difficulty in every area, right, Crow? Come on, come on, Crow? You at least have some questions when
Well,
every
as far
area.
as sunset and the darkness that comes thereafter, there's a general rule is that light doesn't travel forever. Can you light
Right.
up the whole city or a room with one candle, or your whole house with a candle, or your whole backyard? Obviously not. If light traveled forever, your neighbor would see it 20 miles away. A little
And
candle.
I feel the acuteness of viewing angle, the sun is constantly moving away. So once the angle gets beneath a certain critical angle, well, then we experience darkness. And of course, if you had your drone out, Ranty, and it's darkness on land or darkness over the water there, as you bring the drone up, the sun will come into view and the water will start to light up again. So, yeah, all of these things are critical.
Water, I think, plays a big factor. There
Yeah.
are like millions of square miles of water evaporated into the air and coming back down every day.
Yeah.
China's proof of it. It's flooding so bad there now. They've never seen that before like it is now, I don't think. So
Are you sure China
it has
exists?
a
Can you prove China
big
exists,
effect.
Jim?
Water droplets, vapors, gas, whatever you want to call it, the different concentrations give the air different densities and, you know, interactions. You know, it's like I say, one of the reasons that people argue about the pressure going down with elevation, the colder the air is, the less water it can retain. As air rises, it's going to lose its water. Water in the air is what causes the differences in pressure. More water, more pressure.
Right.
It's
And we are in
just
a
the way it
dynamic
is.
system, right?
Yep. So as the clouds go up, the water that's in them, as the temperature goes down, has to be released. Because it's science, only a certain amount of air temperature and a volume of air can only hold so much water, so much relative humidity. The colder it gets, the less water it can hold.
Let me just say, Ranty, the time lapse you produced yesterday, maybe you could quiz Crow on that one as well. I mean, we have to start holding some Crow's wings to the fire, right, Crow, because it's sort of late in the game, man. So, but let me just say, if you noticed the transitioning point of dawn when it was all foggy, the horizon, apparent horizon, seemed so much nearer. But as the air cleared, right, then the view became more sort of succinct and clear. The point being, when the air was more denser, it just got impossible to see through, like a sort of a thin, thick fog. So when it comes to any mirroring is always done by the water, and that's a key point. I know you don't agree with that, but you have to consider it. And I would ask you, Jim, because you've been in this arena for so long. Now that we've been given back the extended span, how do we represent where this massive body of water, we're looking out over open ocean, where do we represent where that actually ends? As in, where is the real horizon, where the water ends and the sky begins, as opposed to the illusory horizon?
I think there are a few things. You have, like, we used to call the thing a vanishing point. When something finally goes out of your sight, it's vanished, right? We don't hear that. And as far as all the reflection, all these mirages and other stuff, there is a thing called glare too. It's a spreading of light that's sort of blinding and stuff. It's not just, reflection and other stuff. Glare is a different animal in the equation, and it don't get factored. Ultimately, the conditions of the day and the time will limit your horizon distance, period.
Right. Well, any reflection in any puddle of water, it'll depend on your relative position to the puddle of water and the sun. The sun is the key factor here in terms of reflectivity. And let me just say, at the start of your video yesterday, Ranty, you showed the lighthouse, right? And there was a gap in between, and you could see the water beyond. So this proves that any target that we're looking at will only set up a sort of a local horizon in terms of itself. The
It
real
also
horizon
proves
will
that
extend beyond that, even if we can't see it.
any target like a lighthouse or other stuff is better to view at night.
Right. Right. That's why, because let me just say, I suggested to Brandon Toy to, as he had the fish tank on the surface of the table, and we were getting reflections, right? So to cover it, and he covered it with blue stone. So that reflection was done away with. This is what's happening at night as well, right? So the sun again is gone, right? So there's nothing lighting up this shiny surface as it appears to us. So it's all in darkness, and pretty much you end up seeing shore to shore on the calmest of evenings, because the air is still going to vary. There should still be ether band effects going on, because, well, the air is still going to differ in temperature from the water, from the higher air, especially at nighttime as well, when everything is sort of settling down. But no, under ideal conditions, that is the best of viewing conditions, yet you can see pretty much shore to
in the
shore.
daytime, you have what you call light noise.
Right.
It's partly why people are using filters and other stuff, polarized lenses, all kinds of stuff to remove some of the light and the noise.
For me, Jim, it comes back to what actually light is. And I say, again, just speaking from my own mind, the dual offered us, the dual wave particle nature of light is metaphor, right? It points to the truth. And for me, well, it is, light is an effect. Visible light is an effect. Visible light and heat from the sun, especially, are effects of the source energies
How do you
interacting
get your
with the
lightweight
air, especially
particle
the
for
water
your
in the air.
experiment? Where
Is
does it
that
come from? Michelson Morley, who brought the light? There's a rule too. If light doesn't travel forever, light is generated. How is light
right?
generated? Well, it's generated locally. I keep saying it over and over. People looking at the collapsing wave and all these theories, they're wagging the tail. They're wagging the dog with the tail. Light has to be generated. It's generated
Right.
by a process, well known, well studied. Certainly not brought up much in the flat earth by any of these gurus for I don't know what reason. But the process is called atomic absorption, followed by a secondary emission. That secondary emission is the generation of light itself. It takes matter and energy in general to create this light.
Right.
So start there, not at the dog's tail, because you're looking at something that's dying, decaying, going away, and not even what generated it. And whoever's doing the
Yeah.
experiment must bring their light source. Okay?
Right. Absolutely agree, Jim. And for me, well, the matter is the water in the atmosphere, right? Which we're told officially there's, I think it's 50 million billion tons in the particulate form, whatever, in the atmosphere. But more importantly, on a flat Earth, well, the source energies, right? Um, as you probably know by now, I hold that everything stems from one source. So it's these energies interacting with the matter, more particularly the water in the atmosphere, that allows us to see, right? And it's that sort of, well, again,
It's
ultimately
not
coming
just a
back to us
transfer
ourselves, right?
of heat energy and stuff. It transfers all kinds of form of
Yeah.
energy up from the oceans, lakes, whatever, up into, well, the skies, and becomes ionized, charged, whatever, rains out, does all kinds of stuff. It's power, it's energy up there while it's stored energy. You
Do you know
know,
what it reminds me of,
a
Jim?
gallon of water is 10 pounds. And how many millions of cubic miles you say there are in the air?
40 million billion tons of water vapor in the air.
Depending on how high it is, it's that much potential. See,
Right.
potential above like sea level, whatever, is, well, it used to be in the British system, foot-pounds. If I take a 1 pound weight and lift it 1 foot off the ground, it has 1 foot-pound of potential. If I raise
Right.
that same pound 100 feet in the air, it's the same thing as 100 pounds of weight. If I let it go and it impacts the ground, it's the same as 100-pound weight. It's just the physics, like foot
Yeah.
pounds and foot pound seconds, car torque, and the output of engines is measured in foot pounds. How much can be applied to the rubber, to the surface, and move it forward? A lot would be around the 750 foot-pounds. That's 1 horsepower. That's not a lot. Some cars will have 1,000 horsepower, like a Bugatti. It's driving into the future. It's more a shuttle than the space shuttle. But
Funny
yeah,
enough.
light, let's not detract from it. Light has to be generated to be used for anything, you know, you light your kitchen or light the experiment. I don't care. Light is a locally generated thing, and it takes certain conditions to generate it. Look, you say water, yes, but we use tungsten filament and pass what we call electricity through it, and guess what? It resists, and this force trying to push through it radiates energy. That energy hits some white paint on a glass surrounding it and gives off white light. Yeah, there's something they're doing now in the light world, which is producing a laser beam white light, basically by uh, using a blue burning laser frequency shot at a phosphor surface, and it gives out the most brilliant pure white light you can imagine. So they're not at the state I want to buy one yet, but basically it's a white laser that's made from a burning blue laser frequency. So, you know, starting at the end is nowhere to be.
It's funny, a picture came to my mind when the sun is the great agitator. It stirs the shit out of everything, right? Everything in its path. And the picture that came to my mind is a huge electrical cable just being cut and severed and going sort of haywire, you know, in all directions, like a fire hose pumping water after being let go. And in one big sense, I think it's pivotal to my own thinking to understand that this is not a natural system. Natural law is not natural. This whole realm we're in, Jim, is unnatural.
We have a creator and we're on his creation. That for me is the end of the story. The rest is nonsense.
Well, what do you mean? It's the end of the story. I mean, we might be in his creation. Of course, everything is ultimately under the creation of the creator. But is this earth as we experience it in its natural state? Or is it in an unnatural state? I mean, can you not consider both? Of course, you've definitely. Do you skid and laugh at the people who take the idea of giant trees, for instance, seriously, Jim? Once giant trees, anyway. Different landscape, in other words.
Am I being heard now? Okay.
Yeah.
As far as the
Yeah.
giant trees and stuff, you know, and being lied to, we all were, you know, every single one of us, you know. So you can't really blame anybody for what they believe today, because they're
I'm
still
asking you,
pumping the
Jim, what
crap
do you
out on it.
believe? What do you believe, Jim? I mean, that's my ultimate question. Is the Earth, as we experience it, in a natural or an unnatural state? It makes all the difference.
It's close to as natural as far as what's not synthetic of man. Yes, it's still the natural world that well, like I say, things look like melted wax for the mountains and stuff. You know, what can you do after a Armageddon of titans and giants and bodies littering the earth? You plant some pine trees and flowers and you grow on the damn things and clean up the mess, right? And that's where we are now.
Yeah, you
You
get
know,
into some. Oh gosh, yeah,
I guess it was here on Ranties. He played a little thing about the giant trees yesterday, maybe it was. But
yeah.
the Devil's Tower, they found a 4 mile by 5 mile root system. It was a tree, you know, or very likely it was. But you know, the limits to how tall the tree
Hey,
can
hang on,
be
hang
depend on the
on.
diameter of the stump. You know.
You believe
That
that, Jim?
article, that article only cites the video for no forests on flat Earth.
All right.
It's the only
That's the
citation
problem.
for that article.
I understood they did some tests at whatever, and they mapped out this stuff geologically, geological surveys or someone. I could be wrong.
Say no, it did make sense. I mean, go around the island of Ireland on Google Maps and tell me it's not a stump of a tree. Do the same with the Isle of Man, any island for that matter.
There are many out there, huge,
Right.
that in all likelihood were giant tree stumps. No
Right.
question.
So that's what I'm saying, Jim. This is, we can talk about it being not being antagonistic or anything, but if we understand that, well, maybe we were always meant to figure out that this is an unnatural sort of state of affairs. Ultimately, maybe getting back to repair, but it's the process is there for us to come to terms with. You know what I mean, and then move on with our own reckoning.
Yeah, let me just intersect for just a sec, guys, because I have been working at the same time that you guys have been talking. So for the audience, in case they missed it, I don't know how they missed it because I've been presenting it. I was actually taking a video that Wolfie6020 put out, and he said this is with a solar filter and one without a solar filter, the same sunset. And basically, all I've done is taken screenshots, 3 screenshots through the sunset video with his solar filter, and the top image is at one point. The second image is at another point, getting closer towards the sunset, and the third image is getting closer to the sunset even more. And you can definitely tell, even though Wolfie used his solar filter, there is definitely a change in the size of the sun. So, there we go. Carry on, guys.
Yeah, so where's Crow? Crow has gone on mute, and Sarah mute as well. Maybe he's still watching the main show. You could comment on that, Crow. You'd say you'd need to see a solar filter on all of these camera equipments, but he's not listening. Conveniently deaf. It's really a hard gig being a bowler, right? Because you have to sort of defend everything to the hilt almost, and after a while, people cotton on.
Well, you know, I mean, I've put it on screen for everybody to see, really. So I did this as a live viewing. So you know, I literally just played the video, stopped it at several different points during the video, and we have 3 different images. I've put them, you know, inside some lines, and what do you know? they get smaller. So I wonder what's happening.
It's a massive distinction, and with that polarizing filter, that first video I showed, or you know, someone posted or whatever, I think that the small black dot sun, what would it have been, about a 20th of the size of the sun as it would appear to us? I mean, we can all equate to the size of the sun. We can all relate to it because we're told that the sun and the moon look the same size to us. So we can look at the moon, and the moon looks pretty fixed in our sky, you know, when you're looking at it above a certain angle anyway. So yeah, that polarizing filter brought the sun down to a tiny black dot, a 20th or less of the size of the main sun. So again, what are we dealing with here? This is the bigger question. Again, to me, let me just say, it seems like to me we're dealing with reflections. It seems the most obvious answer, and especially on a flat Earth as well, where the ground is still, right? We're not moving, so all of the sky seems to move in unison. Now, there's a few different factors associated, what actually is causing everything, then the various and sundry secondary movements can be taken into account. You know what I mean? But primarily, this is where we need to start going, right? And all
Well,
of this
here's
stuff as well.
the
Let me just say as well, all of this stuff, since the military could send up fucking high altitude balloons back in the day and record stuff, and I'm saying back in the 1850s, according to the official story anyway, which I think is nonsense, they send up all manner of cameras and got all manner of shots of all different conditions
Well, one
in
thing
terms of the
is though,
skyline.
is that a mirror is usually not necessarily fully flat surface, but a surface, and I think sometimes you seem to be inferring that this band of like dense air and mixing evaporated airs over waters and stuff that cause some of these other effects, refraction, mirages and stuff, are included in that mirror term. Because a mirror is normally a surface of one form or another, and if something mirrors off a surface, it's
Right.
not mirroring off a gas or particles in a gas droplets, you know.
That's right. I just want to say something else as well to the audience as well. I'm going to try and clean the chat up a little bit. So the idea being is that there's ways of trolling and there's different ways of trolling. But currently the way things have been going inside the chat in the past, I don't know, 2 months or so, it has been getting ridiculous. So I will be employing some moderators who I can trust to moderate fairly. So as long as you keep your nose clean and you're not too brutal with your trolling, that's good. But if you're going to just be coming in just to make, just crappy comments, then there's no point in having that crappy comment around, and you can have 5 minutes to think about it. It's as simple as that.
Jim, I just want to say in terms of mirror, when I talk about a mirror sky, well, I'm primarily using the term because of water. I hold that there's waters beyond, and there's a sort of energized barrier holding back those waters. So that's the sense that I use that. Of course, if you shine something off of a mirror in the dark, you'll get a different reflected pattern than if you shine it off a dark wall, for instance.
I heard that. Well, I watched a video today. I think it was. I can't remember the name of the stream now. It was something like On the Bright Side or something, or something like that. Anyway, it was this guy, and he was talking about the moon, and he was talking about how there's apparently going to be some space race to get to the moon to start digging it up and start mining the minerals from it, right? And when he was talking about this, because he is a bit of he's a bit of a conspiracy theorist too, but he believes that the moon is real. So he's like, well, when they went to the moon the first time around, there was none of this talk about it being full of minerals and being able to be mined and gold and silver and all the precious stuff up there that we're going to need for technologies and stuff. And suddenly they've got like China and Russia that are going to be going up there apparently to dig up the moon. You've got NASA that wants to go and set up moon bases up there and dig up the moon. And then he goes on a bit later to say, well, conveniently at the same time that they've got this now new space race to get to the moon and lay claim to it and start digging it and mining it.
I have a FYI to add to this, is that our Canadian Mint is printing up a whole bunch of planets, moons, astronauts, and all this space and fantasy crap on our coins for, the expensive prints from the Mint for collectors and stuff. Just saying.
Okay.
It's not ducks and beavers. Right now, it's a space frenzy from our Mint.
Cool. Well, yeah. So the crux of this is that NASA, in their wisdom, they went to Congress or something, and they were asking. I think it was either for 5 billion or 5 trillion. I can't remember which the figure was. I would imagine it was probably 5 billion that they were asking for to get this up and running, so that they could go and land people. Wait for it, back on the moon by 2024. Right. So. Not the 2020 that we were told, because we were going to be 2020, and all the other times that they've kept putting it back. no longer now 2022. No, the new timescale is now 2024. And guess what? Congress turned around and said, you wanted 5 billion? Well, we're not going to give you 5 billion. We'll give you 1.5 billion. So you can imagine what's going to happen when it comes nearer to 2024 now, is they're going to turn around and say, well, Congress didn't give us enough money so that we could plan it properly and get to the moon in 2024, because you just know that that's just what's going to happen. Crow, what do you say?
Yeah, I was making coffee, so I'm back. I really don't discuss, NASA and these things because I have my own proofs that require NASA. But anyway, did you show what you were drawing with the sun?
Some things you can't just defend, right, Crow?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like they've been going back to the moon since what, 1973, is it? 19 something like that. So, and every time that they tell us that, oh, we're going to go back, we'll have a moon base there by the year 2000. We're in 2020 now, and they were supposed to be landing on the moon this year, and then it was supposed to be 2022. Now that it's 2024, and Congress haven't given them the amount of money that they require to actually get people back to the moon by 2024. So we just know that 1.5 billion or whatever it is that they're going to be handing over to NASA in the meantime is going to go somewhere, but it isn't going to go to taking people to the moon, is it? Because they needed 5 billion apparently to get there. So it's all kind of very, I mean, you ask for so much to take you somewhere that you can never go to take you to Narnia, and they don't give you enough, and then that's just a perfect excuse in a few years' time to turn around and say, well, that's the reason we didn't go.
Well, to me, I've seen some proof, some people explain why the moon travel is real. But for me, there's two aspects. I know that the moon is a rock that goes around the sun, and I know that rockets work. So it's not a miracle to go to the moon. So that's why I accept the moon landings.
So when you say that you know it's a rock, how do you know it's a rock that's going around the Earth?
It looks like a rock. It has features. The features are exposed by the sun and the shade of these features. So,
well,
Okay.
here's the thing. There's an effect from polished brass mirrors and stuff where you can engrave or have anything embedded on the bottom of it, and when a light shines on it, it projects a 3D image onto a wall or a surface. Now, I'm not saying that's what the moon is, but this effect is called the Chinese magic mirror. If you give it a look on YouTube and search one out, there's one guy who shows it, demonstrates it. Wow. It looks like it has craters, ridges, everything, and it's only a shadow. So to see a light with shadows and what you think are craters and stuff is no way proof that that's what it is. Conceptually, in your mind, it's what it is. But in reality, there's no proof that that's what it is. As far as I know, it's a light in the sky.
no,
You ever see a rock floating? You ever see a rock floating in midair, Crow?
Hold on. In reality, there's no proof that what you said can happen. Like someone show me the moon with the same concept you're talking about. It doesn't happen in reality.
Crow,
Yeah.
show us a rock floating in midair.
No, rocks just go in orbit, not in mid-air.
No, okay, then show us an orbit without reaffirming it with the sky.
Well, they say it's an orbit, and I checked.
Well,
and
don't
yes,
tell me
it's
what they say. Show me an orbit.
I'm an investigator, so I investigated.
Well, then can you investigate an orbit and say, hey, I have seen with my own eyes something fall in a circle without first reaffirming that's what the sky is, because that's all you're doing. You're saying something can fall in a circle, and then we say, can you show me? And you go, look up. I'm going, yeah, we're trying to establish that's even possible. And you're going, well, look up to prove it's possible. I'm going, how do I know it's possible?
Well, we have to stand far enough to see something going around the Earth.
You have to show me that this is physically possible. If I take a rock and I drop it and it hits the floor, and I go, see, it's not going to fall around the floor, and you're going to go, but what if you threw it further? And I throw it further and it still hits the floor. I'm going, see, not falling around the floor, and you will never get to that point where you can show me this process. You just say, well, if maybe.
Add something here, possibly?
Just one sec, Jimbo. Just one sec, Jimbo. Yes, you can in a minute. I promise. Right. So, Crow, can you just look at my screen for just a second? On
YouTube, I can see on YouTube.
Okay, so you can see that I'm presenting.
Or should I go to
whichever? You can see that I'm presenting an image. It's actually it's called the Big One. It's a ride local to me. What do you see? Do you see the ride there?
I see a bright dot on what appears to be the ride.
Okay, so you know what was it you claimed that the reason that you could see the moon was?
Say again.
What was the reason that you said that you knew that the moon was a rock that was going around the Earth?
Yes, the shadows of the craters and like that,
okay.
And other reasons.
So an optical reason, so that you can see it and you can understand it because you can see these things on it, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see the ride that I'm presenting right now. Yeah. Problem is, in your model, that isn't there. In your model, that's a hologram. So
yeah, say what you see on Earth, Crow.
So in your model, that isn't there, right? That's a hologram. You can't see it. In fact, the only reason you can see it is because it's being loomed up. So it's a projection of the ride. It's not really the ride.
Yes.
Okay, so
you're actually clinging to what you cannot see, and anything you can see directly you deny. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, essentially that's, Pete sort of nailed that pretty much. I mean, that's what I was getting at, is that here on where we observe things in the distance, and you tell us that they aren't really there, that, what we're seeing is a projection, but then on the other hand, you'll look at the moon and say, yes, everything about that looks like this, so it must be that. But yet you'll refuse the things that you can actually go to, walk to, touch, and feel, and photograph.
Well,
double talk is standard.
Curved, no horizontal.
Right, look at the double talk. Level is curved, up is down. You can see that, but it's not there. But you could see the moon, but it has to be there. It's like you just have to go back and forth between a standard of what you have established as reality. It's crazy.
Okay, Jimbo, you had something to add.
Yeah, as far as orbits and our spinning on an axis, there's people who shoot long-range shooting. Now, you'd think on a 2-mile shot, someone would have to calculate some coriolis. But in fact, there's numerous sites on YouTube, Mark and Sam, one word, after work, they do 2-mile plus shots. The lady spots for the guy, and all he has to compensate for is right, left, and up and down. And he's usually like one target wide at 3 o'clock or over, 12 o'clock, and he doesn't calculate coriolis. They know the wind speed's down with the sock and some stuff, and they're not calculating any earth spin, and they're doing 2-mile plus shots, these people. And that's not the only thing. Now, that's just one example. Another, he's a gun lover. His name is Edward Sarkassian, something like that. Anyway, he fires a 50 caliber straight into the air. The hang time of the bullet before it lands back down within a few yards of him is 1 minute and 50 seconds. Well, in that minute and 50 seconds,
are you
if he
kidding
were
me?
at my
That
latitude here,
bro,
at my latitude, the rotation of the Earth should move me. If I shot a 50 caliber straight up here, where I am in Ottawa, the rotation of the Earth in 1 minute 50 seconds should move me 16 miles away. And someone 16 miles away from me should be worried about the bullet coming down on their head. But that's not the case.
Oh my God! Now this is a fallacy.
That's not a fallacy.
You forget about the conservation of momentum. I'm sure Crow's going to say. Off you go, Crow.
No, I don't say that.
View, not the shooters and the guns.
What's the horizontal?
Listen, one thing. Let him finish his point. Let him finish his point.
The shooter and the gun are being moved away from the bullet going up very fast.
So are you saying that
in
once
that
the bullet...
minute and a half, it's 16 miles. If we were at the equator and we did the same thing, it'd move us 32 miles away. It's not conservation of energy of the bullet sticking in the atmosphere above the person shooting with the Earth as it rotates.
Do
Conserving energy
snipers
that way.
take Coriolis into effect or no?
These do not 0%. None of them. Look at this guy, which is Mark and Sam, after work, or any of these long range gun guys and ladies. No, they don't take Coriolis into account, dear friends. Zero.
What do you have
Never.
to say, Crow?
Well, he was monologuing, so I think he doesn't want me to say anything.
Go on.
Well, what's the horizontal bullet when it leaves the nozzle? Can you calculate it for your location?
What do you mean, what's the horizontal bullet?
What's the horizontal velocity of the bullet? If it's spinning, the rifle is spinning, and everything is spinning. So what's the horizontal velocity of the bullet in space?
Right. So which you're saying that, so again, conservation of momentum. So yeah, what did you say it was, Jim? Were you in Ottawa spinning at what speed? 600 miles an hour?
Well, I guess we're around 600 here, not the full 1,000 at the equator.
So would that be the answer you're looking for? Would you say horizontal as well, or tangential speed?
No, you're saying like there's an umbilical cord that's holding the bullet above the barrel of the gun as we're all moving sideways with the Earth spin.
Right, but also in a circular fashion, right, Crow? But is that what you mean? Is that a good answer?
FYI, the bullet went to 22,000 feet high. I was just reading about it. That's incredible, man. And 150, it was 150, yeah, minute 50 hang time, and it hit 22,000 feet.
And it can
And the
Earth
Earth
down and kill you.
came right back down, right near it. How does that behave, Crow? Doesn't that behave exactly like a stationary Earth? Wouldn't that be exactly how a stationary Earth would behave? You would shoot something up, and it would come right back down where it is.
No, until someone address what I said. What's the horizontal velocity for
Okay,
bullet
say
when it leaves the
horizontal
nozzle?
velocity.
say
Tangential, horizontal.
Say someone shoots a bullet, and at the same time, the velocity going up of a balloon is compared. Does it matter?
What?
The Earth is still moving under both the balloon and the bullet, right?
No.
And they both
You
have
gave me the
different
answer
velocities.
600 miles per hour anyway, Crow. And is there any way to measure that horizontal velocity? Anyway, yeah, 600 miles per hour.
No. So you said it's 60 miles per hour for your location. Now, why do you deny that speed for the bullet when it leaves the nozzle? It still have that speed.
Then
And
the
it goes
bullet's
up
going up.
that speed,
It's
and
left
it goes
the
down.
chamber of the gun.
Yeah.
It
How do you measure
doesn't
that,
matter.
It
Crow?
wants to go up
How do
in
you
a
prove
straight
that?
line.
Say again.
Sorry, Jim. Off you go, Jim. I'll leave you to it.
I got to go eat anyway, but that's two of the main points. Light the generation of it, and these two people who certainly prove the Earth is pretty flat,
Right.
amongst many other gun amateurs and people who are professionals who shoot and shoot and shoot miles and miles and tons of bullets and don't calculate no damn Coriolis.
I'll take up
Well,
I'll
not
take
the
up the
Navy.
conversation a little bit. Okay, Crow, 600 miles per hour, right? This is the tangential velocity of the bullet as it leaves the gun. So that's what I'm asking you. If you're saying that is in possession of a certain amount of angular momentum, how do you calculate that? Can you demonstrate that that bullet has that amount of angular momentum? Do you know how to calculate it, first of all?
No, I don't need to calculate the angular momentum. I need to calculate the momentum.
No, you need to calculate the angular momentum, because you're saying that even though the bullet seems still to us, right, and is at rest in the gun before it's fired, pointing upwards, it is still in possession of an angular momentum by the very nature of it being on the surface of a ball that is spinning at a given rate. Is that correct?
Well, we can use the momentum or the angular momentum, but for easier, I'm not sure. I think it's easier for me, at least for me, to use the momentum.
It has to be angular momentum because you're on a ball spinning in a circle, right?
Okay. So you want to go to that 50 billion angular momentum thing, right?
Because you have to calculate it by the mass of
Yeah,
the bullet
you would use regular
times the
moment. You would use
velocity
regular
times the radius.
If it was a flat stationary, if it was stationary, you would just use regular velocity. You wouldn't need to worry if the ground is stationary. You wouldn't need to worry about the velocity of anything except the singular non-angular velocity, just regular velocity of the object moving. And you would say, okay, it moved 100 miles per hour from point A to point B. You don't need angular. You only bring angular velocity, and when you have
Hello.
Yeah, we seem to lose you there for a sec.
Just got cut off.
Yeah.
But
So,
yeah.
Pete, let me ask you a question. If we have a child that he has a force of 1 kilogram, whatever, this could be 10 newtons. How much torque can this child produce?
What do you mean he has a force of 10? What do you mean he has a force? Weight, you mean?
Yeah, he can carry a weight. He can push a weight horizontal by 1 kilogram. This is his force. So how much torque can this child produce?
Torque in what sense, though? What are you talking about? What scenario are you giving? I'm not sort of with you. But if you want to, just tell me then.
Okay, so the torque is
a turning force, right? Right.
Yes,
Torque is a turning force.
Depends on the arm, right?
Oh, okay.
So a child can produce a zillion if he has a long enough arm. I'm not talking about his own arm. It's just the length from his location to the center of whatever he's pushing. So whatever big number for the angular momentum, it doesn't matter.
What does this have to do? What does this have to do with the Earth moving?
That's not got a child with a really, really long arm. But I mean,
right? What does that have to do with movement over a moving body? Right? All we're talking about is when an object is moving over the ground. If the ground is not moving, okay, fine. We don't need any extra calculations. If the ground is a ball that is spinning, we need to start doing different calculations because of the different speeds of the ground. This is very simple. This has nothing to do with a child's long, dangling arm.
He should get disability for that.
Well, I thought Pete would understand what arm means, but looks like he doesn't. So, yeah.
I didn't
I give some
understand
people
the
excuse, but
scenario
don't
you
give
were
you
offering
excuse.
up. I didn't understand the scenario you were offering up, Crow, in relation to the question I answered you. You wanted to find out the horizontal velocity of the bullet, and I agreed. I gave you 600 meters, 600 miles per hour.
Yes, because you were going after that. You would say that this angular momentum is 50 billion trillion, whatever. Just a scary number, but it doesn't really mean anything. It's the same as the arm of torque, not the arm of a child. Do you know what's the arm of torque, Pete?
Right. Okay. I'm with you now. Right. Okay. I didn't know what you were talking about. But it's not the same as that. This is something we can all relate to, right? In terms of generation of torque and how you have that leverage, right? But when you're talking about transferring everything onto a spinning ball Earth, the very nature of you being on that surface, which you're placing me on, is an angular momentum that can be calculated by calculating the linear momentum, which is mass times velocity, multiplied by the distance from the center of rotation. This is all theoretical. And do you deny the theory behind that?
I don't deny the theory behind that. I understand the angular momentum.
So the point I make by saying that, Crow, is if you take that bullet and that gun to the very north center or the very south center, right, which is the central pivotal point, then there is a zero velocity. So that angular momentum within that structure will be zero. And it's that differential between billions and zero that we would experience as human beings as well. And of course, we don't experience anything like that. For me, the bullet is still, it's inert, right? And there's no tangential velocity in any direction, but you are placing me on it, on a ball, and giving it these figures necessarily. And I'm saying these figures can't and don't make sense. From 273 billion, 750 million kilogram meter square per second at the equator for a 100 kilogram man to zero at the very north center. That's the point I'm making there.
And you've also had a little bit of a dig given to you there, Crow, by Silent Zero, who says, Crow, it's like a parrot like a parrot there. So do you think do you feel that you're more like a parrot than sort of
And a
like
crow.
thinking for yourself? No, than for thinking for yourself. You know, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, I do think
Crow wants
for
a
myself.
cracker.
I do think for myself. I do clash with other people, and I do come with conclusions that, you know, some
Are you thinking you
professors
want to?
are being astonished.
Are you thinking you want
by
a cracker? Do you think you want a cracker right now? Is that what you're thinking?
what's correct?
There's two birds
Well-
on the panel tonight. You got a dodo and a crow.
right. Listen, I'm presenting something for you to look at, Crow. It's the
Okay.
Starlink stuff. Why do you think we can see the Starlink train? Why do you think we can see that? And when a plane flies across it, you know, the size of the plane appears to be a similar size to the Starlink.
Yeah, because both of them are too far, and just for our eyes, it's a dot of, you know, light.
But do you know what size
I
the
think so.
Starlinks are?
No, but what we're seeing there, it's not the angular size of them. That's just the brightness. Like, you know, like a flashlight or a laser pen. A laser pen is too tiny. You wouldn't see the size of that laser pen from 5 kilometers, but you can see the light as a dot from that laser pen.
I think they're about as big as a bus, as a giant, you know, as like a school bus. I think they're around about, yeah, I think they're about that size. So, do you think we should see this sort of thing from here down here, looking at something that's the size of a bus? And I think it's around about 400,000 feet high. I think I'd have to double check, but I think it's about that.
No, I think 300 miles, 100 miles, something like that.
Yeah. Do you think we should see a bus at that high then?
A bus? No.
So why are we seeing the Starlink train then?
Well, as I said, and maybe you've seen some experiments of mirroring flashing to, you know, for the flat Earth experiments. The man would be looking around the beach with his camera, looking for the person. He cannot see it, but suddenly a flash of light appears. So the angular size of the mirror is very small. Even the camera with a zoom, it cannot detect it. But the flash of light, it can be detected.
Okay, so it's 217 miles high, apparently. 217 miles, and you're seeing a bus. Now, I don't know if you've looked at... Have you ever seen any footage from a plane when you look out the window of a plane and you look down at the floor? You know, can you see a bus from 35,000 feet if you're cruising over land?
No, but I can see a mirror with that size.
Show us.
Using a mirror from,
Well,
from
look at any
250 miles
flat
away.
Earth videos with using mirrors and try to see the mirror without the reflection of the light.
Are
Get him,
35,000
Travis.
okay, so are
35,000 feet.
So are windows mirrors? Can they reflect light? Are solar panels as well? Do they reflect light?
No, I'm not aware of the exact configuration of these things or its reflectivity. I'm not aware of that.
Well, I just meant for, you know, for a hazard's sake. Surely, you know, I mean, if you were a pilot and you're flying a plane, wouldn't it be dangerous to, you know, put solar panels on top of people's roofs in and around airports?
It's too high comparing to aircrafts.
Well, that was my question. So from 30,000 feet,
250 miles.
yeah, this is 217 miles high, and it's the size of a bus. And we're, you know, what's giving this reflection? Why are we seeing these bright lights? What's the deal there? I mean, what's it reflecting off? What's causing this brightness to be like that? And why should we see it from that height? I don't get it. Not when you can't see the same sort of effect from a plane that's just at 30,000 feet.
Well, okay, you can, you know, can do a little bit of equivalency. You know the navigation lights at the wingtips for the airplanes. They could be at the size of maybe baseball or a little bit bigger, but when it flashes, you still see it. Now, if you try to calculate the angular size of this navigation light and compare it to a bus size with that altitude, I guess the ratio would be almost equal.
What, and you think that the Starlink train is just a light? It's not really a satellite, then it's a light?
No, it just has a reflections.
Yeah, but it's nighttime.
Yeah, for you.
But they still out there, bro. They're looking up, okay, and the Earth should be blocking. You gotta. These things are a millimeter.
Yeah, he's pretty. He's cut out again there.
Well, let me give you the good argument. The sun appears to be behind the horizon in that image, like it's maybe sunset or dawn, right?
We've seen them at dead night. Like, there's video of these things at nighttime, and they are brilliantly lit up, like they are LED lights. How are they reflecting the sun's light at night when the Earth is in between these satellites and the sun? This is physically impossible, Crow. Unless the sunlight is bending and around the Earth. Then when it gets to the viewer, it goes straight up, then bounces off of the satellite, then comes back down to the viewer. Come on, Crow. What is that?
You're
JFK?
absolutely right. No, you're
So
absolutely
why are they so
right.
bright? They're close
no, you
and
don't
they're
see
little.
them.
That's why.
You don't see them. You don't see them in the middle of the night. That's the point.
You do, bro. When they okay, whatever, man. There's a video, you can see them. You can see them when they're launching. They're beautifully lit up, right? How are they beautifully lit up on the launch, reflecting the sun's light when the Earth is between the sun and the satellites, bro? You're just in denial. You just want to believe these things.
Well, you have to prove that this image is real.
All right, what if
There's a video. Watch the video of the Starlink launch. You see this strip of LEDs going through the sky. How are they so bright on launch when they are so close to the Earth at night and the Earth is blocking the sun, Crow? How is that physically possible?
That's
because
easy.
within 90 minutes they take a whole spin around the Earth, so you don't just.
Before that happens, they are a mile or two off of the ground, and they are brilliantly bright. And the Earth is between them and the source of the light that is supposed to be making them how bright we see them. So how is that possible unless they are actually lights that they are launching like drones? Can you explain this?
Well, someone make this up and you believed him, because they don't detach from.
They don't detach.
You said 1 mile.
Did you see that? Did you see the video of the Starlink where it's like 7 lights in a row? Did you see that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Are they bright? Are they very bright in the sky?
Yeah, bright.
Yes, and it's nighttime, right?
Dawn.
It's not, bro. I've seen one at night, Crow. There's video where it's dead night, and you can. How are you seeing bright things unless this background is black, Crow? Come on.
Yeah, of
Use
course.
your brain here.
Of course, it's
okay,
like
so
many.
the dark background means it's night. If the sky is the background and the background is dark, so that you can see white light, is it nighttime or daytime, Crow?
Well, is there a difference between 1 hour before dawn and midnight? Aren't they
talking
both
about the
black?
sky. I don't care what you call it. If the sky is dark enough to where you can see these bright lights, it's pretty dark out, right?
Yes.
Okay, which means that the Earth is blocking the sun. So how is the light curving around this Earth that is blocking it to light up these satellites, Crow? The only explanation is they are self-illuminating lights.
No. Can I speak?
Well, let me just do a shout out, because this is to help you out, Crow. So, Esteban Ilabanca says, Ranty, it's reflected light. They are small but reflective. You can see a mirror over a lake. It's not the size, it's the amount of reflected light. So that's his claim. I'm playing a video right now, though, that you guys can maybe have a quick look at, and it's nighttime. And in the background we have the moon, and here we have
I remember seeing the video, right? I'm not. It happened at night because I was like, wow, look at the stars.
And you
look
can
at
see that
Starlink
light over
going
the lake
across.
if it's at just the right angle.
So,
So how is this happening at night, Crow?
Do you know what I
Is
think?
the-
Could I make a suggestion? Is it possible that these Starlink trains are just illuminated on purpose so that people can see them and have a belief that these things are up there at that height? Would that make more sense?
Well, I wouldn't address that.
Because what's illuminating them if the sun isn't?
Well, in the image or the video showing now, what's that in the right lower corner of the screen? Does that look like a pitch black dark night?
What, down here? I don't know, it could be a street light.
No, it's the sky is bright at the right side of the screen.
Should I find another video that shows it you in... Right, okay. Let's have a look, see. Just wait for it to come off the big screen. So, Starlink train.
Starman,
There you go.
SpaceX.
How about this one? Oh, that looks like the same one, actually. Looks like somebody's nicked. Oh, no, it's a different. There we go. How's that?
Are you playing it on Discord? Should I go Discord? I'm on YouTube.
Yeah, it's on Discord, yeah.
Okay, hold on.
And one other thing, if the sun is over on the right, how are we getting the reflection down this way?
Yes, exactly. That's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, yeah. So, yeah, it's obvious that this is around dawn time, and we can see the reflection of these. How do we see the reflection at this angle? I understand what you're saying. It's difficult.
But not impossible. Off you go, Crow. Explain it.
Yes, yes. You know,
I like a good slowly but surely turning your balls.
I like a good argument. I don't know everything. Some things you know, I like when an argument is presented and I cannot solve it. This is a good one.
Yeah, but what if a flat Earth? What if a flat Earth answer solves it? What if it's what
Those
if
are
there's just
allegedly
these lights that are
satellites?
closer?
Well, it depends.
Bro, it looks like a drone. It looks exactly
like a drone
light show
or something.
Exactly like one, like exact.
It looks like they programmed to line up and go across the sky.
Bro, people, they have the want to believe. It's like Santa Claus. You knew there was no guy, but you were getting your present, so what did you really care? You know? They're getting their satellite TV. He doesn't really care that they're lying about it. Right?
What about this one then? That looks pretty dark to me. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you know, it could be 1 hour before dawn where the whole sky is dark, but because of the altitude, you measure the horizon drop for the lights, they can see the sun from their position. You know, if someone go to any curvature calculator and put 270 or 250 miles and see what's the drop in angles, multiply that by 4 minutes, and that would be the time before sunset.
Okay, so how far away is the moon? Let's do some calculations here, roughly. How far away is the moon?
240,000 miles.
380K?
You'd have to convert it to meters.
Yeah, I think so.
Right, okay, so essentially these Starlink trains are about 100 times nearer. Hang on, let me get this right. 217. Yeah, about 100 times, roughly. About 100 times nearer than the moon, right? Yet they're only the size of a bus.
Maybe 1,000 times, Ranty? Maybe 1,000?
No, it's 2,000 miles. 2,000.
2,000 they're up. Okay, sorry about that. I thought it was
Is it 213? Sorry, 213 miles high.
Yeah. So it would be 1,000. They'd be 1,000 times.
My mistake. You're correct. Then in that case, so 1,000 times smaller than the moon, and also, nearer to the moon, and also, but they're only the size of a bus. Well, how come if you scaled it? I'm sure that wouldn't work out to the size of the moon. Do you?
Well, it's the same concept as you can see the flashing light of a navigation light for an aircraft at 33,000 feet, when you cannot see that size by any means during the day.
Well, if that's your explanation, if anybody else has an explanation,
Okay, I have to step in. I'm interrupting my massage, so this is really important. That's not reflected light like a mirror. That's a constant light. A flash is reflected from a light source to a viewer. What you're seeing in the sky there is a constant light. What is he talking about? Okay, I'm going back to my massage. This is ridiculous.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean,
right.
if
So
that was reflected, those things would have to be adjusting whatever's reflecting the light, like perfectly in sync with their movement, tracking
It
the
would
light
be
source and
flashing.
reflecting it
Why you
directly
gotta
at
make
the person
Travis
viewing
jealous, Dave?
Oh, I can't believe Travis didn't show it, and I had to interrupt my massage.
I hate Rocky Alive.
It would be flashing like a mirror. He said it himself. A mirror flashes. Yeah, these things aren't flashing. This is constant lights in the sky. Call it what you
But
want.
he
the
It's
wants
not
to
reflecting
believe.
the
I'm
sun.
telling you, it's just the want to believe,
It's
right? Like
amazing how
as
hard
long
he's
as there's
trying.
plausibility, right? And here, this is why I don't believe, because of that. Logically, the mirror would be at the changing angle with the observer, you know, and like that's just like I'm like, okay, then it's not that. But he's like, well, you know, maybe the atmosphere, and you're just okay, you're just.
Well, how about the International Space Station? Do you have to see it in certain orientation for the solar panel, or any orientation you will see
okay,
it?
so let me follow up with that with a super chat that basically says that same point. So again, Esteban in the banker says, "Ranty it simple. Provide footage of a Starlink at an impossible time at night, considering the sun's position. No such thing so far, apparently. Well, if they control the lights on these things, if they control the lights on them at the altitude that they're at, then they can just turn them on and turn them off whenever they want.
Make them brighter or dimmer to make it seem like it's going further, you know, make it seem like it's higher and going further away. We'll just trick.
$50 million a day or whatever they're getting, you know, between them, you know, I'm sure they could figure something out.
Penn and Teller fool you with $100,000 budget. Those magicians, Penn and Teller, David Copperfield.
Yeah.
They'll fool you with a $200,000 budget.
And right the hand, if you didn't know, or anyone else out there, if you didn't know, Penn and Teller did a very interesting series on, well, we're actually the name of the show is why we're transferring from August to September, and of course, with September brings 9/11. They did a very special show defending the official story on 9/11. How strange is that? When it turns out that 9/11 is in fact a magic trick, or was in fact a magic trick. So you just prompted me to remember that there, right the hand. Very interesting. Find it interesting? Like David Copperfield made the Statue of Liberty disappear.
Yeah. Why would
Smoke
Penn
and
and Teller?
mirrors.
They
It's
don't
all angles of light.
I wonder if he made it
mirrors,
disappear.
angles of light. Magicians do it. They put the audience at a certain angle. They can use smoke and mirrors and angles of light to make things disappear. It's a known thing. This is craziness.
I wonder if he used an inferior mirage to hide that boat he was on.
Only if he was a baller.
He loomed it way up in the
sky.
Or did he? I can't remember what he did now. How he filled them, but he did something, didn't he?
I've seen David Copperfield live in Las Vegas, and he had this picture like a walkway that went out over the audience. He walked out onto this walkway. A little curtain came up around it, came down, and he was gone. Right, and there was nowhere. You could see a top, you could see everywhere on it, right? It was an incredible trick. So if he can do that, and you know they can fool you. Come on. with billions of dollars and technology out of this world.
Yeah. One thing Penn and Teller talk about was that, you know, for the trick that takes 30 seconds to put off an exhibit in front of an audience, it takes a team of men, a team of workers, 20 or 30 workers, 6 months to prepare. And just about the disappearing Statue of Liberty trick, if you look at the footage again, Ranty, just very closely, at the very end they slip up and a helicopter comes into view in the distance. So it's very possible that there was something that sort of been span across a certain distance away, that to the viewer's point of view, that you know, you just due to perspective and other issues, yeah, you couldn't see the statue itself. Obviously, the statue didn't disappear. Although people like Crow would go, "Look, the statue is gone. He must have disappeared." It.
I just have a question for Crow. Don't mind me interrupting here, but what would be more logical and more feasible financially? To have automated drones, which you can see in any Chinese light show, it's a replacement of fireworks. The synchronization of all these drones are priceless. What would be more of a practical approach to launching satellites? Would it be the physical Arthur C. Clarke satellite that you've seen in all these space movies? Or would it be drone-driven technology that we've achieved?
Well, if you want to fool people to believe in space, then the cheaper thing would be launch drones. That if you want that. But if space is real, then
yeah. So what you're doing is you're looking up there, and you're under the impression that the velocity of these satellites are 17,000 miles an hour to stay in orbit. So you're saying all of them are lined up, traveling the exact same speed, the exact same angular velocity, lining up. That's more plausible than a synchronized pattern of drones that you've seen many times demonstrated. Exact same thing that you would perceive. So you would still believe that the possibility of orbits are more real than the drones doing what they're doing. Is that correct?
no, I said if the Earth is flat and they want to fool us, then the more feasible is drones.
Which one have you personally experienced?
What about, hold on, what about just fooling you for the idea that space is real? Forget about the shape of the Earth, just getting you to think space is real, outer space, alien, future planets. Wouldn't that be the motivation? Not whether the Earth is flat or round. It would be the projection of an outer existence that is fake, and therefore using this technology to bring forth that it's real. That would seem more logical.
Well, I don't believe in aliens, but I sure believe in space. I know it's there.
You know that you look up and see black.
So wait a sec. So you believe space is there. So you believe that these Starlink objects are traveling at 17,000 miles an hour to keep the orbital velocity they need to maintain the elevation. That's what you think?
Yes.
Okay, so
like a robot, a parrot.
How would you
robot parrot
Crow?
Hold on, Pete. Hold on, Pete.
How would you go about proving this?
How I go what?
How would you go about proving it that these Starlink objects are traveling to 17,500 miles an hour in link, in angular velocity trajectory, exactly lined up perfectly? How would you prove that?
That would be hard for me, but I can prove other satellites.
Okay, so it's hard for you to prove it, but you think it's happening, as opposing to something you can witness in a Chinese new technology fireworks show. All these synchronized drones doing these amazing things all in one line, reaching altitudes of over 100,000 feet. And you still think that orbits, big buses, by the way, the Starlink size, I think, is 260 kilograms. So they're very small objects, according to the data that I researched.
Claimed.
Okay, Esteban. So Esteban's.
The point is that at a height of 250 miles with an object that weighs 260 kilograms, you're not seeing it at all. Doesn't matter what you put on it at that height.
Well, Esteban's turned around. He's made a good point, and I don't know the answer to this. So he says, can the drones be seen at the same time in the same position from multiple countries? Question mark. Parallax will show they are higher than any plane ever has. No need to know the distance, just its angular size, its geometry, really. So, I mean, has anybody looked into these things? Does anybody actually know whether or not these drones whatever they are. These.
Yeah, how big is the range that they were being able to be seen from at one time? Right, like at any given time, right? They're like how the penumbra leaves a little area. Then the drone should, I could see it from here, Texas. I can't see it from here, California. So then look, this was where it was viewed from.
But wouldn't it? How about this though? What happens if they had two sets of drones? Because they weren't flying that high, people in just
10 sets.
Yeah, they just thought that they were seeing the same ones because they filmed them in the same order. But technically, I mean, they could have just, they could have just used two to film people.
That'd be much easier, right?
Well, they have enough money to do it, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought that would work too well. What about people on the borderline where they could see sort of...
Depends if it was over an ocean. If there was an ocean separating,
I'll tell you my best answer. And when we come to flat Earth, we're given the sort of choice. Well, you hold it, the sun is 3,000 miles away, or 93 million miles away. I say the barrier is much closer indeed. At its highest point, the Kármán line distance, 60 miles or thereabouts. If they can, those little pen laser lights that you can move around and get your cat to follow around after you shine it on a surface, I think they can do that easily. The technology is even there, in regards to commercially wise, you can get some Japanese company to project a star for you. How to do it, not sure, but I imagine it's something like that. And if you think about, just as we were talking about 9/11, what they did for the last number of years, I think the last 18 or so years, they send up two beams of light directly up above, almost energy weapons in a sense, right? If they hit the barrier at a short distance above, if it's 60 miles higher, so at the equator, at New York or in England or Ireland here, it'd be less, let's say 40 miles or so. I shouldn't think that would be too much of a challenge to send up some sort of choreographed projection like this. That's
Globebusters Bob, he's in the chat, and he says that...
I agree with Pete.
He says that he covered this on his show title, Twinkle Twinkle Little Starlight. So that's Bob from Globebusters. He says that apparently it's just local sightings. The drones are a local phenomena. So, Esteban, if you've got a problem with, thinking that you can triangulate these things from different countries or whatever to prove the height, then apparently Globebusters Bob there's already debunked that. So, unless there's been some future, something recently that showed something.
I'd like to say something also about what Pete said. When they shine those laser beams up from the 9/11 site, I believe that's almost what they do with the opposite, the occult signal, the opposite. So when you research this, you hear about some type of laser energy weapon being shot down. Now they're shooting it up. Just kind of, maybe rubbing it in the face if that's true or not.
That's hilarious, Dave. That's absolutely hilarious because I've been talking about this. I was just about to say to Bob from Globebusters, he has me banned from everywhere like most other places, but he did the impossible as far as I'm concerned, and he went from understanding that 9/11 was a media and a victim symbolic hoax back to the Judy Wood camp. David Weiss as well was big selling Judy Wood. Now, what Judy Wood, first of all, what do you associate wood with? Wood with trees, right? Judy Wood talked about directed energy weapons from space, and if everything is inverted, Dave, there was no energy weapon in 9/11. But what if the story was laid out in this way, that the energy weapons are going to come from the Earth upwards? I say Starlink is to link stars to repair, right? Aristarchus is the tree of life, has been repaired. The barrier is being reinflated. How will it be done? By energy weapons from the ground. And now, instead of the two beams that went up, we have one beam going up. And that's honestly my best guess. And I think important to consider is that the barrier itself, this energy watery mirror-like barrier, is only a short distance above. 40 miles, as I say, where I'm at. I'm happy with that. Kármán line distance. This is what I say earlier on. And when I'm often on Ranty Show, let me just say this, that the truth is already known and it's there for us to read. That's the way I look.
Well, Fight the Flat Earth, when I put on his show to have a bit of a, to educate him on optics and all like, he still believes that that these direct energy weapons, these lasers, that they can curve around the sphere Earth and hit the target, because basically, even though they're a powerful laser, they're still just light. So he thinks that you don't need direct line of sight with these lasers to use them, these energy weapons that they were making, because they will just automatically curve around the globe to hit the target.
Let's take off another one of his fantastical beliefs. Right?
Yeah, but I mean, my question to that would obviously have been then, well, if that's the case, what's the what's the refraction on the particular day? Does that do you have to account for that?
Oh gosh.
Oh, funny.
Well,
So isn't it the International Space Station counted as a satellite?
I don't know. It's your claim. I mean, you think there's men living in it.
No, I'm not talking about men living in it. I'm talking about people knowing where it's going to pass, and they can see it, so it's there, whatever it is. And you don't see the solar panel. I mean, it doesn't have to be oriented for you to see it. Just the body is reflective.
How easy a job would that be for you? Imagine you just had to be earthbound, like a computer game, and just point a laser with a signal on a picture on a three-dimensional hologram or something, and it hits off the mirror above a short distance, 40 miles is nothing. You were just talking about actually the satellites being able to be seen with the flashing from space. Well, I think the ground record for mirror-to-mirror flashes is something like 200 miles. So, I mean, there's always a sort of an excuse that can be offered in that sense. But I was just about to say as well, with a laser, laser light is invisible. It's only when it's passing through sort of a medium that it shows up. And this goes back to what I was talking about earlier on about what the true nature of light actually might be, i.e. what we experience, visible heat and light from the sun are effects, right? A source interaction between the invisible source energies and the intervening medium. So.
Okay, so listen, I just want to address something in the chat. So it's quite funny. I've been keeping an eye on the chat, and I have reached out to tidy up the chat essentially, because I do need some kind of moderation. I didn't want to see the chat going the way it had done, where people were getting abused left, right, and centre, and I was also the butt of a lot of the target of this abuse inside the chat too. And I don't think I should have to put up with that, especially when I came on to fight the flat earths, and then the following day had just been in there with YouTube, and I answered a question that YouTube asked, and we both got timed out for it. And I just thought, well, if it's all right for the Globers to have some kind of moderating skills that decide what content, what comments can and cannot be approved, then and they can just time you out for no reason. Then in that case, then I will have moderators back here, but and that'll be to keep the chat clean. So I have given Bob the wrench, and so far he's doing a good job. He's not banned anybody. He's just timing them out, and eventually the Globers and the troll, well, not the Globers, but the troll Globers, even some of the troll flat earthers, will realise eventually that if you just come in and you just come to give abuse, then you're going to get timed out for 5 minutes. And you know what happens after the 20th time? You kind of learn your lesson then, and eventually you start to just talk like normal people. So this is what the hope is, that we're going to get the chat in order, and it's going to be a place where people can actually hold a conversation and not get abused. I don't want that anymore. Enough's enough.
You're right. You're right. You have to do it.
Yep. I mean, I've tried to give as much freedom as possible, but I've seen the way the chat's been going, and I've not been pleased by it. But people should be learn to behave themselves. They shouldn't act like children. And if you're going to act like children, then there's no point in making a comment. And if you do make a comment and you're going to get timed out for it, don't come crying to me because you're getting timed out for it. You're not being banned. It's a 5 minutes, sit on the naughty step and have a think about what you actually said. And then when you've had a think about it, you can think, do I need to come back and repeat the same thing? Because if I do, I'm going to get banned again. Well, not banned, but timed out again. And eventually you'll just not say the same thing so that you don't get timed out again, and then you can just get back to having a normal conversation. It's just about, learning the new rules around here,
I take it shows versus shows is timed out.
I've no idea. I've no idea.
We must conform, but look, there's people with different motivations. There is no normal in this arena. You don't know where anyone is coming from. And as an individual, you should be hyper skeptical about everybody. And that's just the truth, right? Because the truth has been so contorted. And these people who print the money, if you think that they haven't their people in place, this is what I talk to Bob, and you give him the rent straight away, no worries, not my business. But he doesn't call out any of the flat earthers put in place because maybe he is one himself. Maybe you are one yourself, Ranty. Maybe there's a greater game going on here. And to say such things, it becomes dangerous. But I will say this to you. I have never been, not that I've never been censored, right? But in general, I haven't been censored. And if I talk about something that you don't want to talk about, it's sort of soon made clear. But I've never been censored in that way. And this is probably one of the only places I have never been censored. And me and you certainly have had our words before, Ranty.
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, I'm here for the debate. I'm here to listen to different people's side of the argument. I'll welcome anybody to come in, concavers, globe Earth. It doesn't really matter. Just come in and have a civil debate. Come in. I'll be very respectful to you. And it's just at least try to control yourself in the chat. If that's it's not a lot to ask. But I have watched the chat. It's got very poor recently. I've noticed that the viewing figures have dropped as well. At one point I think it was 260, 270 people watching. Now I get just over 120, something like that as a norm. So, and I fear that's down to the fact that the people that used to come in and make comments got ran off by the trolls. So, I tried to make it as much freedom as possible, but there comes a limit where if you're just going to come in and troll, then to be honest, I don't want you trolling. Simple as that.
Well, you can look at someone like Crow here on the panel, and that's all he's doing is trolling. He could offer up. English is his second or probably third language. He could offer up, be a better flat earther than any of us, and offer up the best arguments against all the silliness presented.
Well, I'd disagree with that. I'd say he's one of the better globers that comes in and comes in to have a chat, because at least he has a subject that he's interested in, which is obviously the sun and the moon. That's his baby. So
but it's still trolling, right? It's still, no matter. It's high level trolling. It's polite trolling. It's not the same as dealing with Rumpus or Brenda, who, by the way, are all very reasonable people. If you come in here for the first time, you didn't know anything about anything, and you had a one-on-one conversation with Brenda, Rumpus, or anyone, you would have to come away and say, well, that was very reasonable, and they did challenge me on my beliefs. It's only when we come to see the different patterns and recognize the different layers of trolling, if you want to call it that. I don't think it's a job, right? So yeah, it's just many different layers going on.
So I'm a classy troller?
Well, you're polite, you're intelligent, you are, so well researched in a sense. So you're definitely a good wall to bounce stuff off of. And if you're cut out, then you'll know. If you do the catching out, then you'll know that, well, yeah, you're advancing in your thinking because you're probably the best that the ball has to offer in your particular area, right, Crow?
There you go.
Regarding the sun,
the highest of compliments.
That was high praise. Yeah.
I shouldn't say anything after that. I should just leave.
Yeah, just leave it at that. Just right.
Thank you, Pete.
Go home and have a wank.
Right. Okay, Pete. Right.
Sorry about
that. Crow, can you look at my screen in the Discord, because I'm presenting something now.
Yes.
And I know that you like to discuss these things, the sun and etc. So I took these screenshots from Wolfie 6020's solar filtered video of the sunset, and to my eye, at least, it would appear that there is a shrinkage of the sun.
Yeah.
What's your explanation for that?
My explanation is that I think that footage was not zoomed in, and so you see in the last image at the bottom, there's some kind of something like black thing cutting the third top of.
We'll forget that one then. What about these two then?
Yeah. Okay. Well, for me, this gives a trend.
A trend.
Yeah, if it's not zoomed in, the light is not strong enough. The solar filter is too powerful for that size of the sun.
So it's because he hasn't zoomed in. Hang on, I'm confused. So you're saying that the observation he did is inconclusive because you don't feel it because he isn't zoomed in enough.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Well, if that's the claim, I mean, as a flat earther, we look at this as a globe earther putting this stuff out, and it definitely shows a shrinkage of the sun.
Well, look,
Wait,
this
Crow.
is a good one. What you're presenting now, so I have to give you that.
Crow. I
And
thought we supposed to observe without zooming in, though.
Without what?
Zooming in.
Why would you observe the sun without zooming in with a solar filter? What are you going to gain from that?
Well, you're trying to observe it shrink, right? And if you
Yes.
zoom in, isn't that the camera gonna get closer and therefore make it bigger?
Yes, if you zoom in, it looks bigger.
But that's my point. Shouldn't you follow the sun from when it's on top of your head all the way without zooming in with a solar filter?
No, I've never seen it without zooming in. At least for me, I've never seen a tracking of the sun from noon to sunset without being zoomed in.
Well, that's a big problem though, because if anybody is trying to look if the sun is gonna shrink and then they start zooming in following the sun, but they're just gonna make the sun bigger.
Why would it get bigger if the zoom is the same?
You don't seem to understand what I'm saying. You're supposed to make the test without any zoom at all, right?
No.
No.
Yeah, if I
Okay,
want
I'm lost.
look, if I want to inspect the angular size, I have to make it big in order to detect any change. So
But
that's
you
why.
can't change the zoom. When you change the zoom, you're going to change the apparent angular size of the sun. That's what he's saying.
Yes, we keep the zoom the same.
All right.
Okay,
Now I got you. So you zoom in and then you leave the zoom fixed on that position and not move it.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's how you're supposed to do it. Yeah, sure. Okay, I thought you were saying that that you needed to zoom in on the second one. And I was like, okay, well that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be stupid. Yes. But my explanation, it looks like that. I'm not sure. Maybe if some kind of tests on a bright, you get a white disk in the night, you shed a not shed, sorry, you shed a light on it, and then you zoom out with a solar filter and see if it's going to disappear or not. These kind of tests would help with these observations.
You do realise, I mean, the size that the sun supposedly is, it's lost about what 10% of its size in these two shots. That's quite a lot to lose.
It definitely looks smaller, but you have to count pixels if you want to be accurate. But it does look smaller.
And even smaller still. And I know that, as I'm saying, Rude Earther, he's been doing similar things to this. So it'll be interesting to see when he gets around to publishing his work. But there's definitely a correlation. That this happens not just with Wolfie, but it happens all over. Except we're told religiously over and over and over that the sun doesn't change size with a solar filter. That's what we're told.
Yeah, so maybe that's because Wolfie took this image or video, whatever, and he looked at them and he said, well, they look pretty equal to me, so that's it. And then What do you know? You come and put two lines on the sides, and you can tell it's smaller.
Is there a way on the P900 or P1000 to put a certain zoom and then change the zoom and then get back to whatever zoom that you had, like preset zooms?
Well, yeah, as you zoom back at you can do that because it says it in as you zoom in and zoom out, you see it inside the camera as you're looking through it, so it will tell you at what zoom your camera's at.
So if you're 40x and you change, you can get back to 40x again, no problem.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So I would suggest if another experiment for sunset with a solar filter to zoom out and zoom in for each minute for that sunset. So we have the two images and we can compare if the ones on zoom are the same and the one without the zoom are shrinking, then this confirms what I said. If not, then I don't know.
If not, then that's a major hurdle for you to explain.
Yeah, that would be nah.
It's not just then it's not just if it changes, then yeah, okay. It's if it changes, then that debunks your model.
And when your life runs out, Crow, you look back in these 5 years and say, well, if I only started thinking that way 5 years ago, where would I be now in terms of my quest to sort of figure out the nature of my reality and the purpose of my existence?
Well, I became more glober than when I started this debate.
Did you say blubber? Blubber?
Really?
Bowler, yeah. So I have a presentation I might show soon if Randy is okay with that.
Of course, yeah. It's an open panel here for presentations. I'll come on. It'll just be a standalone show as normal. So that's to anybody really, flat earther, globe earther, concaver. If you want to do a presentation, there are I think there's about 30 currently already on the channel. And what I'll do is I'll do an individual segment where you come along, do your presentation, totally uninterrupted, and you tell us what your proof is that you have for your particular belief, whatever it is, and I'll present it here. The audience will ask you questions afterwards. Well, I'll ask via them, and you won't have me debating you. That's the other thing, So it'll literally be your show and your show alone. So what are you going to present, Crow?
Yeah, it's predictions of the sun on an actual physical model. Because I've said this many times and I couldn't have the chance to explain it within the chat, so I made a dedicated video for that.
Okay. So Flat Earth Data was showing some stuff yesterday. Did you see that after the show finished? I don't know if you were still around.
I saw a little bit of the lenses, but that's it.
Yeah, he was. Well, this was off air, so he was basically showing what happens in Blender when you go to these maps and you open up a map, and what you see on these maps on a flat plane is what you see in reality.
The maps from Google Earth, he takes a portion and put it on Blender. Is that what you're talking about?
As far as I know, the program Blender opens it up, not through Google Earth. It has its own set map in there.
Oh, okay.
As far as I know.
Well, it depends on the area. Is he showing like the UK or something bigger like the USA?
Well, I think he goes over like 100-mile stretch, so you can go anywhere. You can just pick a place anywhere, target, choose it, put it in, and it looks like reality.
Randy, you want me to show it?
That's why I asked him yesterday about the horizon. I mean, all of these computer programs need input, right? So if we're inputting
sure, flat Earth, yeah, sure.
Reality. Oh, was there someone talking? I didn't hear him.
Yeah, Flat Earth Data. No, Flat Earth Data is actually here, and he says, "Do you want me to show it?" I said, "Yeah, sure." Fire away.
Yeah.
So, So just as I was saying, yeah, as I asked him, inputting flat Earth information, you can just take the Google Earth or equivalent information for the ball Earth, but you have to input certain basic instructions, I guess, to start. And this is where I asked about the horizon. Is this one of the basic language sort of inputs? Is that the horizon on a flat plane must always rise to eye level? But that was my question. Maybe you'll answer that.
Ranty, are you putting it on YouTube?
No, it's again. You know, if you look
okay.
in the channel in the general, and you just click flat Earth data instead of clicking me, yeah, you'll see what he's presenting.
You were just talking about satellites for a second here, and I put this little object around Earth, just doing a little orbit here, and this is quite a bit farther out than the
Barely hear you, man.
You can barely hear me, eh? Yeah, just
hang on, let me.
I'm gonna go switch my headphones. I'll be right back.
Okay.
1 second here. I gotta get the headphones in.
No worries.
That is a good question that I asked there, because we need to come back to it. And again, when flat Earth data gets back, maybe he'll answer that, because if we are looking over an extended span and the horizon does always rise to eye level, this is a basic input, well, then it changes what we see in the distance, and it's another sort of factor we need to incorporate in our thinking.
Well, shout out to Brandon Toy again for the test that he's been doing recently with the density tank. Crow, what do you think's happening in the density tank that's been created there?
I've seen things being compressed from the bottom up, like they were elevated up, while the top is not really. So maybe it's in the same density gradient. So that looks like what the globers are saying. Things are being loomed up, but not entirely, because in that tank, the sugar was just sitting down, affecting the lower layer.
Well, yeah, everything under the center of the lens was being loomed up, and everything above the center of the lens didn't have any effect on it. So the water was being loomed up to block off the buildings, etc.
Crow, I don't know if you can see this here. So what I've done is,
I can see it.
Yeah, okay. So what I've done, this is Mount St. Helens, and this is an image, that's Mount Rainier there. So Mount St. Helens, I believe, is right here where my mouse is. So Mount Rainier, Mount Adams, I think, Mount Hood, and then Mount Jefferson down here, and then this is Mount St. Helens. So this is over a distance of 110 miles. Now what I've done is I've taken the information, the elevation and distance data, I've reduced it to smaller scale in reality form. In other words, I actually went and cut out, taken it, let's say it's 110 miles, 177 kilometers, converted it all to centimeters, and then made a miniature scale of it, and then took a panoramic. Now, what I want to ask you is, there's two parallel lines here. There's the ground of the Earth, the plane of the Earth. Then I made this little object here, and all I did is I animated it to go level over the plane. Now, the reason why I did this, Crow, is because if we were to hop in a plane together, this exact impression that I've demonstrated here with the data that I've been given, which is just distance and elevation data, this would match my observable reality. So if I was actually to put a camera on this little airplane moving across the plane, it would observe what I would see in reality. What's your explanation for that?
What do you mean? It will.
Well,
show reality.
Here's the problem: is that you guys are calculating. You guys are saying that for a 6-foot observer, we can calculate dip or drop. It would only make sense that if you were to calculate dip or drop at 6 feet, that the higher you went, you would see more exponential dip or drop. It would only seem to be that you're measuring it at 6 feet. If I went 50 feet, I should be able to measure more of it. I'll go 100 feet, I should be able to measure more of it. But it seems to be relative to the position of the observer's optics and how you guys calculate drop. In this particular example, I'm just modeling reality. And reality says that over 110 miles, there is no 1.5 mile drop. I can create two parallel lines that match my observable reality. Is whereas a 6 foot observer, he would say, no, there's dip drop curvature over here, right? Do you agree?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's the parameters of the test. I see an airplane or something like an airplane flying over. It could be a curved Earth, and I mean, how do you prove it's not?
Okay, I'm not sure you're registering, bro. So what I've done is I've gotten elevation and distance data. That's all that's required to show you two parallel lines. Okay. Now, can I make this in a small scale and will it match this demonstration as well? It does. So if I take it and scale it down to 1/100,000 scale and lay it on the floor, I have the same effect. I have this little aircraft flying parallel over the mountains, just as in this scale. Now, the thing about this demonstration I'm showing you, that this is actual NASA elevation and distance data that you can download it through and put it into Blender. There's no curve, dude. There's no dip. There's no drop. It's a level plane. It's two parallel lines.
So I get you. I see what you've done. I see what you've done now. So Crow, basically what he's saying is that this object, I mean, let's just call it, let's just say it's a plane. Let's just say it's an aeroplane. So the aeroplane is cruising at 30,000 feet over the land, right, with the elevation data in it and everything like that. What he should see and be able to track with this plane is a curve. So the plane should curve, but it doesn't. So if he puts a straight line through the trajectory of where that plane has started from and where it's ended up, it's gone from point A to point B in a parallel line. It hasn't dropped off and gone in a curve. It's gone in a straight line.
Well, how do I know that in the first segment of the flight, the airplane is not higher to the surface? I mean, what's the measurements there?
The measurement is distance and the elevation. That's the only data that I can access. So if I'm going to fly over that data, I'm going to put the object in a straight trajectory path, creating a parallel line across the plane of the plane Earth. Because over 110 miles, when I ask for the data, all I'm given is elevation and distance. Now, if I was to create a tangent line on this, independent, and then take the topography and bend it, you would see a noticeable bend along a tangent line. There's no information for that. I'd have to conjure that up. I'd have to make it up. So if I was to build this model Earth, I would have to start to bend it. Do you understand? And then therefore adding curve into it as being supplied it independently. I'm not given anything. I'm creating two parallel lines here with the elevation and distance data. That's it.
You would have to add data, basically.
So
maybe
I'd
assume R based on how light bends.
I'd have to add a presupposition that there is curvature, because when we go to measure the Earth, the measurements are elevation and distance. Thank you.
Well, this is begging the question, because the argument is that the Earth is a sphere and airplanes goes on a curved path. So you straighten the path and you put the straight just elevations in relation to the sea level.
Here's the problem. I can take this exact model that you have right here that you're looking at, and I can scale it down using the elevation and distance data, and it matches this example. Not only does it match the example, if I took my drone and I flew my drone over the miniature model, it would operate the same way as is in this demonstration, because there is no curvature data, fellas. It's only elevation and distance. When you claim a 6-foot observer can measure Earth curve as little as 3 miles away, you guys are either just in disbelief or can't do math, man. I don't know how you can conflate Earth curve with optics when you understand the horizon's only 3 miles away for a 6-foot observer. It just seems asinine and really unintelligent, man, especially when you can demonstrate elevation and distance data from NASA showing there's no curve. And then you can model it as such, as a flat level plane, like we see in reality.
The elevation or the XYZ are not, they don't include curve. It's just the altitudes of any location in regarding to the sea level. So what you did is just you brought that portion of the Earth and you straightened it and you fly a plane straight on it.
I didn't straight anything, dude. I just imported it what it was, and I increased the elevation data to show more detail of the land. That's it. That's all I've done.
The data is X, Y, Z. There's no R.
There is no curvature because that's not what's measured. There's no curvature measured, dude. When you measure plane, when you measure the plane, it's elevation and distance. That's it. There's no curvature as demonstrated.
Over the curved Earth.
Are you registering in your brain, bro? If we hopped in this aircraft together, it would actually demonstrate what we see in this small demonstration. Us flying level over the plane. No dip, no drop, no curve. But in the same breath, you have a 6-foot observer on the ground watching the plane go down over the curve, which is 3 miles away. Which is reality, Crow? The 6-foot observer seeing the plane disappear over the edge, or this plane flying over a distance of 110 miles over a level surface? What's reality?
Well, you don't seem to understand me. What I see that you did is that you brought the elevation data and you put it on the flat surface of this blender.
No.
And you fly the
again, no. What's reality, Crow? A 6-foot observer watching the plane disappear over 3 miles over Earth curve, or this plane flying level over 110 miles of surface? Which is reality, Crow?
Yeah, you created a new Earth here that is
Crow,
flat.
what's reality? A plane flying over the horizon 3 miles, or a plane flying parallel over 110 miles of Earth? What's reality?
I don't get the question.
So
okay, so let me ask you another question then. So when they refuel these planes in midair, right? Some of these planes can take 20 minutes or so to refuel, right? How do they stay connected with the fuel hose that comes out of the back of one plane that's refilling a plane that's basically attached to it as they're flying parallel to each other within probably 30 or 40 feet of each other for 20 minutes, right? For 20 minutes, covering maybe a few hundred miles in that time. So you tell me, so they're getting refueled, flying a couple of 100 miles. They're obviously going over a hell of a lot of drop in that time. How are they staying connected and the pilots being able to maintain their distances?
Well, that's too technical, but I would assume they just maintain the altitude.
How?
By observing their altimeters.
You do realise how much higher they would be if they just flew parallel to each other and didn't change and, manoeuvre, because by the time they start to fuel each other, well, one starts to fuel the other, 20 minutes later, there should be another, 30,000 feet of drop, which would actually put them at an elevation 30,000 feet higher than they were when they first started. So you're saying that they've manually been able to control together, individually, flying at those speeds, just 30 feet apart.
Well, there's even worse cases than what you're saying, like when they fly formation from over 1,000 miles.
Of a ball, though, bro. You understand? They're not even thinking of a spinning Earth. They're flying over a level, stationary plane. You realize
that's what you think.
It's observed this way. The instruments state it this way. Okay, you have to understand that the instruments state that it's a level plane. Okay. There's no coriolis or a function of Earth spin or curvature in the operation. That's why they can connect in the air, is what Ranty's saying. There's no thought of it. So if you don't have to think of flying over a ball, at what point does it render itself useful to use the idea you're on a ball flying a plane? If you don't have to ever think.
I challenge you, Crow. Hang on, Crow. Go.
Well, hold on.
Hang on.
Go
meet any pilot. I don't talk much. Go meet any pilot. Ask him 2 questions. Have you ever trained or adjusted for coriolis or Earth curve? And he will laugh in your face. That's all you got to ask him, those 2 questions. If he's trained or has any instrument to help him correct, or if he corrects for Earth curve or coriolis.
Well, they say they do say that they have an instrument that corrects for that stuff.
No,
that's ground positioning. Okay. That has nothing to do with coriolis. That's ground positioning.
Well, is that is that a little like when they went to the moon and they said, how come we didn't get frazzled up with the Van Allen belt? And they said, well, it's because we didn't know it existed. is it the same thing when you say that, well, how were they able to correct for curvature before they invented the machine that was able to account for curvature? Because they were flying planes in the 1920s.
Well, yeah, I agree with you, Ranty. I'm just saying that that's their excuse. That they do say that they have something that
No,
corrects for
it's
those
only
things.
drift. It's due to wind, which way the wind is hitting the airplane and the force of drift on the airplane. That's the only thing that autocorrects. Or the only thing a pilot has to correct for manually or their instruments autocorrect for is drift due to wind. Like I said, again, if there was Coriolis and Earth curve, pilots would have to train for this, right?
Well,
Ask them
maybe the
if they
pilots you
ever do.
asked, they don't know well, because
No,
I
forget
know
about who I've
Bro,
asked.
bro, listen. I know
Forget
you're in
about who I've
disbelief.
asked. You go
I know
ask.
you're in disbelief,
Yeah.
but listen, there's many pilots
Yeah,
I asked.
well,
Listen, there's
they
many pilots
know
I've asked.
that the Earth is a
The
sphere.
only argument they come back with when they're in disbelief, because they don't fly for a curving ball spinning, the only thing they come back with me at is the great circle. That's it. That's all it is. And I said, okay, so you're doing a great circle. Is it on a 2D map that you place a chord across? And every time I say that, they're stumped. They're like, yeah, you're right. It's on a 2D map with a chord across it. So again, it's not any. Listen, here's another thing too. This demonstration I'm showing you, if we were to get a map, an aviation map of the exact same demonstration right here, there'd be no curvature in the map, Crow. Do you understand that?
You
That's
have a
why,
flat map here.
Listen,
This is what
buddy,
you're showing me.
Listen, okay, registered in yours right now. And I want you to repeat back what I said. If we were to get a navigation map of the exact location I have right here, and we were to chart a flight path exactly in this demonstration here, in that very map, Crow, we would not calculate for any rotation of Earth or any curvature on that map. Do you understand that? So if I took my Cessna 150 and I wanted to fly at 200 miles, and I wanted to fly it from Mount Jefferson past hell, just fly 200 miles, 150 miles, I would not calculate for any curve or any spin. Do you understand that?
Well, do you understand that it doesn't
First
matter
of all,
on a globe?
do you understand that?
I understand, and it doesn't
What
matter.
do you understand? What do
You're
you
breaking
understand?
up.
What do you understand? Just please tell me what you understand about that. What do you understand?
You calculate the distance based on a spherical Earth.
What do you understand about what I just told you? If the map that I'm showing you here,
You're not showing me math. You're just showing me a graph of a flat Earth.
So listen, okay, there is a map of the same very location. We could navigate this map in aviation. In the calculation from the distance of one mountain to another, we are not going to calculate any curvature or any rotation period in our map. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, so can you repeat back to me just to make sure you understand? What did I say?
Well, you say that because this is flat, so the airplane, the whatever flight plan you're going to make on a flight chart is going to be like this one you're showing here.
Okay, I'm going to repeat it again for you, bro. Seems like you're having a hard time fighting, struggling. If I was to plan a flight route or a flight path, and I was to use the same model that's in your face right now, the plane that I've demonstrated flying over this little piece of Earth would do the exact same thing in reality. But not only that, I would not calculate for any curvature between these 2 points nor Earth rotation in my flight path. Please tell me you get this.
I get this, and sorry,
Can
it's
you
a
repeat
useless
back?
point.
Can you repeat back what I said then?
Man, you are straighten the curve.
Can you repeat back to what I said, please?
Well, I got lost. I got lost because you're not listening.
Oh, so you got lost. It's my problem. You got lost. Let me try it again.
You're the one who's supposed to be listening, Crow, right now.
If I have a flight, listen, bro, please, and I just want you to repeat it back. If I was to make a flight path, a flight path based on this observation, I would not calculate for any curvature or any rotation in the flight path, meaning I would fly from Mount Jefferson and fly and land somewhere over Mount St. Helens, 120 miles, let's say. Just as in this observation, it matches my flight path, it matches my flight plan or my operation of it, which is over a level plane. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, so repeat back to what I said.
What you're saying, if you did a flight plan based on this map, it will match reality. That's basically what you're saying.
Which means what? Which means what?
Well,
What
that's
is
your
reality?
claim.
What is reality? No
That's a claim.
curve, no curve, and no
Yeah. Okay.
spin.
Okay.
So match reality.
get
So just repeat back to what I said, because it seems like you're having troubles listening or it's registering in your brain. Repeat back exactly what I'm trying to say here.
Well, you want me to repeat a fallacy? There will be a difference.
Okay,
But do you know what
say it's a fallacy,
difference?
but yet you're not willing to repeat back what I said first, and then tell
You're
me what the
saying
fallacy
if I
is.
made a flight plan over this, it will match reality over flat Earth.
Okay, I'm gonna try it again for you, bro. You're really having troubles. I don't know why.
Okay,
I'm just like fourth
hold
time
on.
explaining it to you. Listen,
Well,
pro.
No,
if
no,
I-
no. Hold on. So maybe I have problem with you. Let anyone explain this to me. If everyone in the panel understand it except me, that I don't.
Anybody want to explain it? Am I explaining it clear enough?
For what
No?
I understand is that if you make that, if you were to fly a route based on that model, it will match reality. Right? Is
So
that what I'm understanding?
what I'm saying is that this particular model that I'm representing would represent exactly the same as a flight route, and both of them contain no curvature, nada. So I would operate the aircraft just as demonstrated here with the little model. It would fly over a level plane just like my route would do if I was to have a navigation route. I wouldn't account for any curvature, just like this model doesn't account for it.
And it matches and it matches what we see in reality, right? That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Flat Earth data. This piece that you have in Blender here, that you've been showing off. All right, that is data taken directly from NASA, right?
So it's elevation and distance data from NASA, correct?
All right, is the picture part of it, like the grass and stuff like that? Is that data from them, all like a shot from their claimed satellite or anything like that, or is that just you showing the data on the screen?
That's from Google, I think.
So you have two options depending on the origination of the data. I'm going to demonstrate how to bring it in so you guys can see how to do it yourself. You ready?
Okay, well, whilst you're doing that, I'll just shout out this super chat from Esteban Ilabancu, who says, "Still can't flight. Planes fly over a defined path like a road. To follow the path, it has to do corrections. That takes care of winds and coriolis." Okay, if you say so, Esteban. So what happens when they're flying and it's not the plane that's doing it? How do they correct for these things?
That didn't work. Let me try to bring up Mount St. Helens again. There we go.
It's like square one considerations. Honestly, it's so tiring. It really is, because it just goes back to the very basic foundational questions that we all asked, and the same points have been.
Well, here I'm just downloading the elevation and distance data between these 2 points, or whatever, the mountain terrain. Sometimes it takes a little bit. Did it work? Okay, there you go. And so I just increased the elevation, and you can see the elevation data. So Mount St. Helens, Mount Rainier, Mount Hood, Mount Adams, or that might be reversed, and then
Okay,
Mount
so
Hood
from
anyway.
side to side, what you're showing there is a real place, right?
So what I'm showing you is that this particular terrain can be duplicated in scale. In other words, I can take the elevation data and distance data just as demonstrated here. I can reduce it to 1/100,000 scale, make a miniature model of it. It matches this piece of topography we see here in small scale. But there's a catch. I've done the model with the ball math in it. And what happens is, if we were to look from Mount St. Helens and we were going to look at Mount Jefferson's, Mount Jefferson's 110 miles away. There's about 1.5 mile drop along the 110 mile tangent line, according to your model. So in this particular observation, there's no curvature data whatsoever. It matches the miniature scale. Like if I took my drone flew over, I'm sure you've heard me say this already.
Right.
It matches
Before you re-explain all of that, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the information presented. I think Crow was misunderstanding possibly what you did here. Okay. So this block here that you have in the program represents 110 miles of Earth, right?
Over 110 miles.
Over 100. Okay. When you brought the data in and it put it on the terrain there on the object, and you put the object in that's supposed to represent a plane, when it flew over, it should not match what you see in reality because you don't have the curvature put in here yet.
So
and yet it does match
the problem
reality.
is
It doesn't curve.
is
So
that it does. Yes.
Here's the thing. There's a tangent line. Now, are we going to use a tangent line here to determine drop? Because we can't use Riemannian geometry without using Euclidean first. So if you're going to measure anything, it has to be Euclidean based and then imposed to be Riemannian geometry afterwards. Okay, this is the hijacking of refraction.
But before you get into all that, you don't have curvature put into this right now, right?
So listen, I got the data from NASA, like you said, elevation and distance data. Now, why would I not be given curve data if the Earth is curved?
Right, I understand that. Okay,
why wouldn't they give me
the reason I'm asking these questions is for the benefit of Crow, so he can understand. It isn't you putting the information in and forcing it to be flat for your demonstration. What you're doing is you're taking their information and putting it in, and it works all on its own without ever having to consider the curve to begin with. That shouldn't happen. It shouldn't work without you putting in the curve information, and it does for some reason. That's a problem.
All it is,
if you think the Earth is a ball.
Well, it is a problem with the Earth's a ball because I'm asking for it's just like any kind of topography or any kind of geodesic surveying. It's plane to plane measurements. Then it's imposed to be Riemannian geometry, which is elliptic geometry. This is the parallel lines converging argument. Okay, so everything on Earth. You can go look him up. His name is what's the first name? Gerald Riemann. I forget his first name. But he's the guy who said at a local level, everything is Euclidean. But if you want to get into space and orbits and galaxies and planets, you need elliptical geometry. That's what he was saying in the 1800s, 1830s to 1850s. This was his argument. There was 50 famous astronomers and, I don't know, people into Euclid's book that really didn't like the postulates, didn't like the axioms, and tried basically proving him wrong, right? That's the whole argument with the fifth postulate, the parallel line postulate. Anyway, one second.
Okay, so Esteban Ilabanca's back again with another super chat who says, just like you do on a highway, small corrections. So I've responded to him and said, look, those little tweaks. So the two pilots are trying to fly with each other, right? So you've got one that's refueling another, and they're only about 30 feet apart, if that. I mean, you can actually see the faces of the pilots in some of the footages. So 30 feet, let's say 30, and those little tweaks that he's saying that you would need to do, you would have to do them in unison, because if you didn't, right, and you're traveling at 500 miles an hour, and one pilot corrects a split second before the other pilot corrects for coriolis, for Earth curve, that little twitch that they do to nose down, to go over the curve, within a blink of an eye would eat up those 30 feet, right? So the pilot that's behind, it'd just wipe it out. You know, those pilots would have to be in unison, changing for the Earth curve.
Well, haven't you seen planes flying in formation and doing loops and doing all sort of aerobatics while they are formation?
Because it's a flat plane. It's a flat plane. It's dead easy to fly over a flat plane. It's almost impossible to fly to doing those kind of tricks when you're talking about doing it on a globe. That's the point.
the globe is like what, 4,000 mile radius? Well, they do these things with 100-meter radius. They make a loop while they are in formation. They stay wing by wing. All the wingman just follow the leaders, and sometimes he doesn't look at his gauges. He just follow the leaders. If the leaders is fast, he just put a little bit of throttle, and that's it.
So how does that respond to what I said about the pilot being refueled by a refueling plane when they're only 30 feet apart and they're connected for 20 minutes?
Yeah, so the leader would be the tanker. Wherever it goes, the other pilot is following it.
It's not connected by a hose that's like it's not a strong hose. So it's a floppy hose. It can't control the plane behind it. So if the pilot in the front is correcting for the drop, then if he corrects a split second before the pilot behind does it, then there's going to be a collision.
Hey, Ranty.
Yes.
I think making it a little bit too complex. When you're doing the refueling, and I think one of the things that flat Earth data isn't understanding as well, you don't have to adjust for curvature. They're just flying at a certain altitude. So let's say it's 15,000 feet. If you stay at 15,000 feet, it doesn't matter if the Earth is curving or not, because you're at 15,000 feet.
What's holding
so as long
them
as
there,
you stay,
You don't understand. There's no operation for it. There's no thought of it. So when you are conflating,
you don't have to think of it.
Listen,
You don't
my friend,
have to
you-
think
you-
about it. You'll only
let's
have to
just-
think.
Let's test your reasoning here.
No, you don't. You only have to think of your
Let's test your
altitude.
reasoning. We have two observers.
Okay.
We have.
You guys don't
Listen,
even let me
buddy.
talk. That's fine.
No, you're obfuscating now. Listen, if we had a 6-foot observer and a 6-foot observer standing on the ground, and we see this aircraft flying away, he's going to see the aircraft disappear into a 3-mile horizon line, which is conflated as the horizon of the ball. Okay, and in reality, that plane is not going down over anything, even though it's appearing to for the 6-foot observer. Would you agree with that statement? Of course, silence. Would you agree with that statement?
No.
Okay, so why wouldn't you agree with that statement?
What's the height of the airplane?
Okay, again, I'm just going to restate it again. I don't know the error. Tell me where my error is wrong. For a 6-foot observer, he's watching the aircraft pass his 3-mile horizon. It's appearing to go into the horizon. Now, according to your model, that's a physical ball edge. That's what the horizon is. And the plane is going down over the ball. This is why it's appearing to move downward, correct?
Yeah, but not the horizon. That's why it appears to go downward, but it will not
Okay, so
hide
wait
behind it.
a sec. Clarify it then. So the 6-foot observer watching the plane fly into the horizon, which is 3 miles away for a 6-foot observer, isn't going over the horizon over the ball Earth at this point? Is that correct?
Depends on the altitude of the aircraft. You put it in the curvature calculator, and you'll know what's the distance when it disappears.
5,000 feet. 5,000 feet. Going into the horizon, is it going to go over the ball edge at 3 miles?
No.
Okay, so then why does a boat do it then?
Because the boat is 3 or 6 or 5 feet.
Oh, okay, so it's easier to be optically hidden at a shorter distance.
Okay, so wait. Okay, so wait, just real quick.
Yeah,
okay,
flat Earth data. On that one, yes.
Okay, so Crow. So if you have a boat that's 3 miles away, and you have an aircraft that is vertical to that boat at 5,000 feet.
Yes.
Okay. And then you move away 3 miles. That's what flat Earth data is trying to get you to visualize and understand. You can't, just because it's 5 miles up or 5,000 or 5,000 feet or whatever, just because it's vertically higher doesn't change the distance to the horizon, bro.
No, it could be right on my horizon, but above it, that's why I can see it.
Yeah, but once it goes more than 3 miles away from you, let's just say, it's already going over the curve, is it not? The plane is actually going over the curve, even though to you it looks higher, because it is higher, it's above the curve, but it's still accounting for the curve. So, in your model, that plane is going over the curve.
It crossed my
whenever you see a plane up in the sky, it's going over the curve.
Correct? Yes or no, Crow?
Again?
Whenever
Okay,
you see a plane going in the sky, whenever you see a plane in the sky, it's already going over the curve.
You can say so.
Okay. The problem with that, Crow, is that you're not accounting for the limitation of your optics and what's causing the horizon. Because in reality, this plane will remain horizontal or parallel to the ground as it moves away. Do you understand? So it's not going over any curve, Crow. It's remaining parallel to the ground as it moves away from you. It's only appearing to move downward because of what, Crow?
Guys, you're all having problems. What's the horizon? If a mountain is 5,000 feet, how far on a globe model, on an assumed globe model, will it disappear?
Don't detract from the conversation. We're talking
detract,
about an
look.
aircraft.
Well, it's the same. It's the
We're
5,000
talking
feet.
about
What
an
are you talking
aircraft.
about?
Bro, chill. We're talking about an aircraft moving away from your observer's position, 6 feet high, 3 miles away. It's going to appear to go down over the edge of the ball. You just said
No.
yes. Oh, it's
No.
not. Now it's not. You're backtracking now.
It will cross above my horizon, but it will not
So-
disappear below my horizon.
Okay, so it won't enter into the horizon, the aircraft. It won't go down into the
What?
horizon. It won't converge into the horizon, the aircraft, as it moves away from you.
No.
Okay, so it doesn't do what perspective does then, converges things into a point.
Yeah, after a distance, a specific distance,
Okay,
depending
so it's
on the
not Earth
altitude.
curve. It's not Earth curve that's causing it, right? The plane is actually parallel at that position, correct?
The plane is parallel to the curvature, the same height from the curvature.
Okay, so now
of the
you're
Earth.
assuming curvature. I'm saying that the aircraft is, if you're standing 6 feet and you're looking up, that plane is vertically, directly above you, parallel to you, correct? And
On a
3
flat
miles.
surface, yes, okay.
And 3 miles away, it's still vertical. If we had two observers, 3 miles apart, 6 feet tall, and we were to fly that plane from one position to the other position, that plane is going to create a parallel line over 3 miles, correct?
Okay, can I ask him, Crow? Are you looking at the video right now? The
No.
image. You haven't watched it, or have you watched it?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
No, right now on Discord.
Yeah.
Can you watch it?
Yes. I
All
can
right.
see it.
Observe it for one loop and tell me if we see that in real life.
Well, first of all, the observer is not 6 feet.
Oh my God.
That's around the elevation of the aircraft. So and yes,
listen,
that,
Crow,
that
from
looks
an
what we see in reality.
Look, here's an x-axis.
Can you put it?
Here's an x-axis.
Can you put it down at ground level?
Sure. It's going to be hilly, but.
Well, here's an interesting thing that I've just looked up. So, if you was to, hang on, let me just get it exactly. Just bear with me, guys. Just 1 second. Where's it gone? So, what's the height that a plane will normally, the height of a plane would normally cruise at? Is it 30,000 or 35,000 feet?
Yeah, something like that.
35,000 to 38,000 feet, yeah.
Right, okay, so if I put 35,000 feet in, it says that the horizon, refracted horizon, is 247 miles away, right? Now, commercial airlines fly at around about 500 to 550 miles an hour, so by my reckoning, that's around about 27 minutes of flight. So, right, I mean, I might be just going bananas here, but I have been, and I've seen lots of planes flying, and I've filmed them, and there's no way that I've tracked a plane for 27 minutes going from a parallel above me to the horizon. They always go long before then.
What was the distance you said when they put in the calculator?
So if your viewer height is 35,000 feet, to get to the horizon you would have to travel from ground level, obviously, 247 miles. So
yeah,
as a flight time, that's roughly about 27 minutes. So if you're at the beach and you see a plane, which I do locally anyway, because lots of planes fly over at those sort of altitudes, flying over to, say, Ireland or whatever, those planes, they're gone they're gone within 10, 12 minutes.
Yes, gone behind the horizon or just gone disappear?
No, gone behind the
less than
horizon.
that,
into the horizon. Let's say it that way. That can only
I would
happen if
say-
it's
3 to 5 minutes, isn't it? Like they disappear fast.
Yeah, they do.
Ranty, I've done this for, in Australia. We got lots of little flat land, right? So driving out in the country where I've seen a plane appear basically as far as I can see it on one horizon until it disappears to the other side of the horizon, maybe 20 minutes, 20, 25 tops. So that's like horizon to horizon. That's a hell of a long way.
Well, that would be double, yeah. So you'd would have to be
Double,
tracking
yeah.
that for nearly an hour. If that plane was flying at 500 miles an hour and it was flying at 35,000 feet, then it would take an hour for you to have first seen it, to it disappearing, so it merged in there. But it doesn't.
Absolutely not. 20, 25 tops. I've actually timed it.
Wow. Well, that might be a new line of research, actually, because, you know, that would demonstrate sinking, you know, what we talk about.
Hang on, Ranty, but isn't that what the globe is saying? Isn't that what your calculation just worked out as? You should see it for 20 to 25 minutes?
Yeah, from a vertical to the horizon, not from horizon to horizon. That would be double.
Okay, and then...
So once the plane is directly above you, Pete, and then you watch it fly off into the distance, you'd have to watch. Yeah, so that would be about 27 minutes of flight. Well, they disappear long before that.
Okay, I'm with you. Yeah, and that's of course due to perspective on the ground, and of course it's a flat Earth anyway, right? And how you doing, F. Evangelist? You in Australia know it's flat before the rest of us because you got so. I think the longest stretch of straight road in the world is in Australia. It only varies a couple of dozen feet over the span of thousands of kilometers. So you know we know it. And any venture
we got plenty of flat here if you want to see it, Pete.
Flat Earth, do you got it, Flat Earther? Flat Earth data?
What do we want to look at Australia?
Yeah, no, I want to look at the Flat Earth data, the camera at ground level, and see the plane going.
So here's something for you guys. So this Esteban Ilabanka, he's given another super chat. I'll read it out, but it doesn't mean much. But I still have direct line of sight. It's high. But earlier on than that, he actually put something that he was explaining what happens with the planes, and basically he's talking about they maintain the altitude by the pressure. So obviously there'll be some kind of I assume he's saying there's some kind of pressure sensor inside the plane. And obviously with the thrust that goes in, the amount of thrust that you put in the plane and the angle that you have your flaps or whatever on the planes, there will only be a certain altitude that the plane can ever get to, and that's how it maintains its altitude based on those parameters. And that would, I suppose, in a way, float you around the globe, because it would, you know, you wouldn't be able to go any higher than a certain altitude, and there'd be too much thrust to keep you at a, you know, so that you wouldn't drop below a certain altitude. But to be honest, I mean, I think that's so, you know, it's so open to error. It's so open to error. I don't know a better way to say that, but it just feels that, you know, if you're just relying on air pressure alone to stop your planes colliding, it just makes no sense to me.
Okay, think of it as you know, the density tower. When you put some object with a middle density, it will hover in the middle. So what's making the airplane hovering at a certain altitude is the speed and the wing hitting the atmosphere or the air, and that air has certain density. If the density is less, the airplane will drop towards the heavier density where you set it up. But that's not enough to account for the error. The remaining error would be, you know, small corrections.
Crow, I want to mention to you as well as anybody else watching. Again, example, this is a little exaggerated here. So when they're taking land topography as well, they're flying directly level over 90 degrees, pointed camera down, edge to edge frame. They are scanning Earth. this is how they take topography, Crow. I don't know if you know that. When you're taking a lens photography, a lens of topography, if we're taking a section of ground, between frame to frame, there's going to be a horizontal image, right? If they're going to be taking any curvature, there would be curvature from frame to frame, right? Like you're
depends
going
on
to
the
be up.
on the
Well, if you're-
area. What's
well,
the
exactly.
area?
So if you're going to be up at 60,000 feet, you should be able to register curvature from point to point, correct? Based on an observer, 6 feet tall, he sees curvature at 3 miles. You can calculate the curvature at this. Why is there a different application when somebody's higher above looking down? There's no calculation for curvature. It only seems to be along the y-axis for an observer.
I asked what's the dimension of the image that they're taking.
It depends on the focal length of the camera. It could be 36 sensor, 36 millimeter sensor with a 21 millimeter focal length, and you get about 17 miles of land on each frame, and in between each frame there's no or maybe even more than that, there's no dip or drop between frame to frame. They're not catching any curvature.
Well, I think 70 miles is big enough to show a drop, and that would show in the image if they do
would think,
for 70
but,
miles.
But why do you think I have this data in front of you, bro? This is how they do it. I'm showing you their data.
Well,
and that's how they do it. They use infrared and they scan, and they can determine the height, elevation, minerals, water flow. They hunt for gold this way. Dude, none of the data shows any curvature.
Well,
and it
because
matches observable because
you
why?
assumed a 70 by 70 miles.
No, I'm actually looking for curve data. I'm not being presented any. Do you understand?
The curve data is all over the
You
place.
can find the flat Earth data. Flat Earth data.
I'm looking for the data of curvature in topography, and there's none, as demonstrated in my example here. And in aviation topography, there's no curvature in any of the photographs. There's no register for it. There's nothing. They don't talk about it. They don't measure it. None of it.
It depends on the size of the image.
17 mile by 17 mile, bro. No curvature.
Where did you get that from?
What do you mean, where did I get that from? Go look at any high elevation data. Go look at the photographs they use infrared for, dude. There's no curvature.
Where's the citation for the 70 by 70 miles imagery?
Not 70 by 70, it's 17 by 17. I'm just saying a 36 millimeter sensor, 21 millimeter focal length at 60,000 feet, you're going to see a lot more than 17 by 17. But my point is they do photographs like this, and there's no curvature data. It's just distance and elevation. So can you show me where there's curvature in this information? I'm getting satellite information, bro.
Not until you clear up the assumptions that you're making, the sensor size, the zoom, whatever, all these things.
These aren't assumptions. No, they're not. They're basic. Okay, so when they're using any kind of camera device, they're going to have a sensor size and they're going to have a focal length. Okay?
Yes, which you don't know.
Okay, so on average, if you look at the satellites now, they have up to 16 sensors. I think 2 of them are optics and the rest are infrared. Okay, and they run by an 8-bit processor or 8-bit quality. Okay, so it's very easy to see the data information and apply it to reality. The point is when you go through the data, Crow, and I want this to register in your fucking brain, there is no curve data.
Well, let me tell you how they do it. I'm going to tell you how they do it.
I'm not interested in, I'm telling you, there's no curve data. I don't want to know by you. I want you to show me where the curve data is. I'm not interested in you telling me. I want you to show me. Do you understand?
Well, I've been listening. You're telling me a lot of crap.
I can show you in real time. I can show you in real time, Buttercup, elevation and distance data provided by NASA. There is no curve data. So what are you going to show me, Crow? Don't explain. Show. I've shown how to do it. I've explained what's going on. Please do the same.
You want the curve data, so
I want you to show me over 110 miles your curvature Earth. I can model this in reality and scale it down, and it matches this model. I want you to do right now. I want you to go, or whatever this week, go take all this land data that I have, Mount St. Helens, Mount Hood, Mount Jefferson, do the distance and elevation data, reduce it to scale, and add your tangent line so you can calculate your drop, and then tell me.
Well, first of all, I don't know Blender, but if I have Blender, I would have
It's
add the
free.
radius.
It's
Yeah,
free.
yeah, yeah. I know.
Okay,
I tried to learn it. It's
so you're
difficult
going
for
to
me.
add the radius when I asked for satellite data
Why
and they
would
gave
you-
it to me.
Why
Tell
would
me,
you
tell me.
add the radius without having the data first? Doesn't
What
make
do you mean
sense,
that
Crow.
you know? Okay. Can you know what's
What
the
do you need
elevation?
the data for? Were you about to say that? Bro, when
No,
you say it doesn't matter,
Look,
it's
I'm
not
tired. You're talking.
important.
You're not letting
But
me
this is what
talk, and
you're
you want
saying.
me to talk
But this is what
specific
you're
things.
saying. This is what you're saying. It doesn't matter. It's not the point. I'm making stuff up. I demonstrated to you in real time downloading NASA's satellite information with no curvature in it, just elevation and data. I'm asking you, sir, to go download the curvature data. There's none. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in the topography images from supposed 250 million or 250 mile satellites. There is nothing in it. Zero.
Okay. If the Earth, in your understanding, was a globe, what kind of data you will expect for the curvature?
I'm not begging the question. You are,
That's an
dude.
absolutely ridiculous question.
No, I need an answer.
You're begging the question already. I'm just looking at the data for what it is, and they're saying there's no curve in it. You understand? I'm not going out with a target on my on somebody's back trying to shoot it down, saying that's what I'm looking for. I'm just going out and saying, what information can I get, and what is it going to look like when I put it together? Well, it looks like the information I get has no curvature information in it. You
That's the
understand?
point,
Yeah,
Crow.
no.
Crow,
Okay, hold on. Tomorrow,
give me a second.
no. Wait. Tomorrow,
All right, I'll wait.
someone convicts earther will come tomorrow and put this same stretch of land
No,
on
don't
a
do
convex
this.
Earth.
Don't
On
do
a
this.
convex Earth, and he will say, "Aha, look."
And guess what?
Okay,
it won't match
this is-
reality, bro. That's the whole point. Over 110
I want
miles.
to say something.
Over 110 miles, I can observe the horizontal pathway of a plane. Okay? You don't
Bro,
observe a curved
You made it
pathway.
horizontal. You made it
Bro,
horizontal.
No, I
that's
didn't,
the
dude.
point that
I didn't at
that's
all.
the
I
point that you
downloaded
cannot.
the way it was.
Hold on. That's the point that you cannot find any curvature data without begging the question first. Like everything that is measured, it's measured and it recalls a flat. It shows a flat plane.
No, it's not. And the
No,
and the
okay,
elevation
just-
data
It
is from
Alright.
the lidar,
Oh,
not
you're gonna do lighter
imagery.
now. Oh, listen, at the end of the day, there's no curvature data to be given from NASA when I download the map information. It's only distance and elevation. Do you know why? Because that's reality, distance and elevation. There's no dip. You don't go over thing. Crow, if you really think people are living upside down on a ball, you have no critical thinking skills whatsoever. If you think birds fly from Canada,
Well,
and
stop
then they
lecturing me.
navigate.
Stop
listen,
lecturing me. And the only
if
piece
you
of
think
information
birds,
needed
if
is
you
the
think
radius of the Earth.
birds, if
Do you think
think
NASA
birds, bro, listen how
should
simple
put
it
the
is.
radius
Hold
of the
on.
Earth?
This is how
Flatter
simple it
data.
is. If you think birds are flying over a spinning ball Earth, they're calculating for coriolis, they're calculating for curvature, and they eventually land upside down. I
Do
don't
you know
think you
do you
know
know
what you're
these
talking about,
calculations
dude.
you're talking about? Do you know that? Do you know them?
What calculations am I talking about, Crow?
Coriolis. Do you know how to calculate the Coriolis effect for a flight route?
Again,
You don't. So stop spewing
don't need
nonsense.
to.
Damn,
No,
Crow,
no,
you
no,
live in the
you're not-
math world, man.
You're not getting away from the burden that you bear, Crow. Okay, now we're back to it again from a couple of days ago. You still have not accounted for your value of R or your value of the circumference. So until you do that, you have no place requiring flat Earth data to give you anything because you still have those two values to produce, and you can't do it.
Based on a sphere, I measured the radius of the Earth.
Okay,
Begging the question first, right?
We've already been over
No,
this.
I concluded that it's a sphere, and my next presentation is going to show
hold on.
this.
How did you
Yeah, go
conclude
ahead.
it? Did you beg the question to begin with?
No, I take
Then how
measurements
you
and
did it?
compare it to reality.
Measurements of what? Measurements of what?
Measurements of make predictions and measure and compare it to measurements from reality.
And that shows what?
That shows that the model is what they say it is.
What model?
What measurements?
What are you talking about? Are what, you have a globe
How
already?
did you measure it?
Oh, there you go. You see?
The video is already there.
How do you measure it?
So it
How
didn't
do I
work on a
measure what?
flat Earth Pro as well, right?
It will never work on a flat Earth.
Have you taken the mirrored water layer over an extended span into account?
Well, I'll leave that to the flat Earth geniuses like
No.
Steve
If you
Lorenz.
modeled it, no, Crow. If you modeled it fairly, and you had to have seen how it would work out on a flat Earth. Now, if you didn't describe the flat Earth accurately, and that's a basic consideration, that if the horizon rises to eye level, as we're looking over water, the horizon will rise to eye level, even though it doesn't appear to be the case, right? When we see the illusory horizon, which we now know is capable of moving great distances depending on conditions, right? So,
Well,
Yeah.
I've been giving two claims, the flat Earth claim and the globe claim. And when I checked one, it works. When I checked the other, I tried to make it work. It doesn't.
It only works when you
Alright.
assume.
Hold on, guys. He doesn't realize that it works because he's been hijacked and he's been reverse engineered based on observation. That's all it is.
I don't care.
But for
The
this,
scientific
you don't
method
care.
says
Damn,
the
bro.
scientific method.
Come on, Crow.
Prediction matches the hypothesis, then the hypothesis is true.
Bro.
No.
If the prediction is based on past observation, this is not a prediction.
What?
So yeah, Crow, orbital mechanics. I'll try to find the PDF for you. See, they were successfully predicting things for 1,400 years. Do you understand?
The
petroleum-
Mayans, I told you the other day, it
So
predicted
listen, this is the
eclipses
thing.
33 years before it happened.
Yeah, so this is the thing. The predictions have already happened. And so when you go to the fallacy that the globe is the only thing that does predictions, you're wrong. Go to
No.
orbital mechanics. Yes. Look,
No, those are not
the
predictions.
Ptolemy model, the Ptolemy model worked fine for 1,400 years predicting. Okay.
Calculating or just records? Records from
Predicting, my
past
friend.
years.
Listen,
No.
predicting.
No.
Yes. Stop.
Never.
Dude,
Show
listen,
me.
you
Show
are
me.
false.
Okay, well, listen.
NASA doesn't have anything special. Anyway, I want to go on to something else here, Randy, if you don't mind.
Sure,
I just brought
yeah.
up
Let me just
refraction.
bring up this super chat that's, it's addressed to you, so I might as well read it out seeing as it's addressed to you. So, Esteban Albanca says, Flat Earth data, how dumb can you be? Elevation is measured from a reference, mean sea level. On a sphere, all points of the surface are level with each other.
he's keen, that guy, isn't he? He must be throwing you a fortune.
I wasn't. I'm sorry, man. I didn't even. I was listening to or doing Blender, and I didn't.
I'll read it. I'll read it again. Then I'll read it again because
He's using the straight bendy lines, right, Renty?
Yeah, that's what it will be. It will be like that. So let me just say it again. So, how dumb can you be? Elevation is measured from a reference point, which is mean sea level. On a sphere, all points of the surface are level with each other. So you can think of Earth, I suppose, like a golf ball.
Exactly. We live on a golf ball.
Two equal points of elevation.
A level basketball.
Yeah, 2 equal points of elevation is horizontal.
Look at this
that's
before,
it.
Tom.
Is a basketball level or curved, right?
It's level, Pete. Didn't you know? Didn't you go to school?
Can I just say to Crow here before I go, Crow, you just sort of contradicted yourself because you say you base your thoughts on the nature of reality on measurements, right? And not on a accepted model to begin with. Whereas you compare your measurements against this pristine model that is given to you in terms of the globe Earth. But when it comes to the alternative, the flat Earth hypothesis, any old shit will go. You won't go to any lengths to try and put together an accurate sort of representation of a flat Earth reality and test the shit out of it. So yeah, on that note, I'm going to head away and leave you to it. Thanks.
See you later, Pete.
See you, Pete.
Right, what are you showing us here, Flat Earth data? Right, okay, well, whilst he's figuring out that, I'm going to show this to the audience. It's basically just a reconstruction, I suppose, of... hang on, let me just get it up. I'm going to share my screen as well, actually, so that you guys can see this. Where are we? Stop watching.
Just real quick, I don't want this point to escape. This is the same thing that happened last week with Crow. He made a prediction, and I asked him upon what his prediction was based, and he had to assume R in his prediction. So the question keeps getting put back to the very beginning, Crow. Where do you get your value for R? Don't tell me you made a prediction with it.
Okay, well,
Tell me where you got it.
Well, whilst you think about the answer to that, Crow, let me get this point out, and I'll come back to you, and hopefully you'll have time to think about that and dwell on that question. Right? Okay. So, what we were just talking about before was basically, if there was a commercial airline, passenger plane flying at 35,000 feet and it was traveling at about 500 miles an hour. It would take, from the observer's point, so if you were down here at the shoreline at a beach, let's say, there's you down at the beach, and you notice the plane above you, it should take, according to all the calculations, about 27 minutes for it to disappear behind the horizon. Right, so if anybody has the opportunity to go down to the beach and track a plane and film it with a camera, this might be a really good way of testing that actual, that actual claim, because by the laws of mathematics, that you should be able to view that plane, as long as you've got a good enough camera, bearing in mind, for 27 minutes till it disappears behind the curve. If it disappears any time before that, it's either travelling a lot faster or something else is happening to the plane, i.e., it's getting sunk down. And I have a feeling that my own observations as well at this but I've never tested it, obviously, but I feel that you'll not get more than 10 or 12 minutes worth of viewing on the plane before it disappears. That's what I've experienced. So think about that. If you want to test something for yourself and you want to see whether or not it's actually going over a curve or not, you could test it this way. Or you could test whether or not it's an optical effect of it actually meeting the horizon by the time that it takes. Okay, right, so Flat Earth Data, you was presenting something. Let's put you back on. Are you ready to talk about it?
Yeah, sure. So what I'm just doing is messing around with refraction, lining up a camera at 6 feet height, looking through different various lenses, if you will. And interesting things happen to the background. You can see, is this the one? When I increase the refraction of it, things appear to move downward into the horizon, right? I don't know if you can see that. That's... it's going to be, this is just one. I've got a couple of other ones to show you. Let me just go to another one here. Just fooling around with refraction, right? It'll demonstrate what we see in reality as far as bending light and stuff. So let me try to put a different lens on. 1 second.
No worries. Just Frank, has got a point about what I've just said. He says you won't be able to view the plane that far away because of the angular size. He did it yesterday apparently, and you can see it for just 6 minutes, even with a zoom lens. So
you can see. I think about. Well, you definitely, because it's 150 feet is an average aircraft, right?
Well, can't you see the ISS?
Well, that's the whole point. The ISS claiming 250 miles, 150 feet. It's the maximum. It's like, so you take the math of 0.007 times it by 3.14 divided by 180 times it by the distance of 250 miles, you get about 150 feet. So they're saying that on the angular resolution of your eye, you're supposed to be able to see it with your naked eye. But I can only see a light. I've never seen anything much more than that. So let me just do some math and see how far away I could see a plane. Give me a second.
Well, if you can see, it's about 250 miles to the horizon from 35,000 feet. So, you've got to say, well, that's comparable. If it's the same, you've got the size of a jumbo jet, it's 250 miles. It's not far off the same sort of distances and size of the ISS. So, based upon that, then if you can see that with your P900 or your P1000, why can't you see it at sea level?
Yeah, there's one problem. You cannot see it when it's near the horizon of the ISS. You only see it when it's higher up. When it's lower, you can see through the atmosphere.
So the atmosphere blocks it.
So the atmosphere blocks it, sir?
The particles in the atmosphere.
Yeah, I agree. So the more particles, like when you have more particles, they're more dense, more volume of particles of the atmosphere that are lower to the surface. Maybe that would block things.
Yeah, turbidity, like Kimo like to say.
Like the bottom of boats.
Turbidity.
No, that's
No,
curve.
particles, density, volume.
So, do you
No,
think
that's
that
definitely curvature.
the
Why are you
particles
asking me a question?
So okay, so what's your question again?
Do you think those same particles that are lower, we have more gas, we have more evaporation, we have more particles, right? Lower to the
Yes.
surface of Earth. You think that could be blocking the bottom of a boat, let's say?
No.
No.
It can
Why
block a
not?
whole plane, but it can't block the bottom of a boat? What?
All of a sudden you just jumped up and said no?
It can block a
Here we
space
go.
station,
Okay,
but it
okay,
can't
hold
block a
on.
boat?
Don't
There is
jump
no
heavy.
cure
Don't
for
run away.
willful ignorance.
Don't run away. Don't run
I'm
away.
not
Now
going nowhere. I think you're full of
okay.
crap.
Okay. So
we're not running
now
away from you, Crow.
now tell me, do you think there's a huge difference between the bottom of the boat and the top of the boat for distance? Like the bottom is 5 kilometers and the top is 10 kilometers? Is that what she's saying?
I think the angle, the way we view things, and the density of the atmosphere, there's a huge difference between 5 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet. Even the heat difference when you get above 15 feet is huge. What do you say to that?
I would say
Keep
no.
in mind that what looks
Prove me
like
You
wrong.
would be
to
wrong. You would be
you way
wrong.
far away could be feet,
Prove me wrong.
yards.
It's proven wrong. You see it every day. You can prove
You
it
just
for yourself.
assumed. You just assumed
No,
something
I
and you
don't
want me to
assume
believe
anything.
it.
You
I quit
just
doing
assumed
that.
the
I
ball.
quit doing that. I quit doing that about 2 years ago, sir. I don't assume anything anymore.
So show me where it says that at 10 or
Show
1 meter,
yourself.
1 meter. I know there isn't.
You won't try. Yeah. How do you know this? How many observations have you done long distance lately?
Because like for example, Ranty show a boat that is not hidden behind the curvature, and we see the bottom of the boat and we can see the top of the boat. There's hardly any images that shows something that's obscured by the dust or whatever from the bottom and not from the top.
I agree. It happens. Things are lifted up. They're squished down. There's all types of things happening. But for you to say just know that the density of the atmosphere that's closer to the water where we know it's most dense, and you can't deny that, would hide the light coming from that object, you're being disingenuous, sir, to yourself. You can't tell me that, right? Because I know you're lying to yourself.
No, you just
Okay,
make a red herring.
Just real quick, Crow. So Dave just made a claim about the temperatures changing from 10, 20, 30 feet as it goes up, and you said that you didn't believe that happened, and then he asked you how you knew that, and you didn't answer his question. Can you go back and answer that question, please?
No, I can't. And of course, the particles in the atmosphere in the lower portion is more than higher. But what's the rate?
Sorry, what's their what?
No, I mean, I agree that particles, the lower you go, there's particles of water, of dust, or whatever, and the higher you go, there are less. But at what percentage does it change? I mean, there's no scale. You're not giving me a scale to work with. So I just said no.
So no math, no reality, huh? There you go.
Not
That's you.
math.
That's
This
not me.
is not math. This is
You want to
You're asking for a number. You're asking
for a quantity, sir. That's math.
Okay,
I'm saying reality, what we see.
Okay, then if it's your word against mine, I would say there isn't difference, and you would say there is difference, and until we measure it, everyone will stay on his word.
Okay, Crow, I have a question. Let's try to brainstorm right now. What would be the best way to measure this information?
I don't know, maybe by lights and photosensor, maybe. I'm not sure.
And how proximate would your measurements extend?
maybe to
Like, would you? Yeah, go ahead.
like from 0 feet to 100 feet.
Okay, so how would you then know what's happening a mile away?
What do you mean?
If you're making an observation that is farther than 100 feet, but you're only taking measurements for 100
okay.
feet.
No, I was saying that we set a set distance like 5 miles, and we make this tests on different elevation up to 100 feet.
I'm sorry, is this a lateral or vertical test?
Vertical, vertical.
Okay, so my question remains, Crow. How far do you take these measurements into that 5 mile distance?
It depends on the intensity of the light that I'm going to receive on each altitude. And then
light. Density of light?
No, the intensity of the light being received from the light source at that 5 miles.
Okay, so how are you going to measure the intensity of the light at your location at, say, 50 feet?
At 50 feet, there's a light source at the end of the 5 miles, and I'm the receiver, and I measure the intensity of the light. And I'm assuming, I'm not sure if this is the way to measure.
Okay. So when you say light source, are you maybe talking about a laser beam? Are we doing this at nighttime? Because I'm just talking about just an observation of something out on the horizon, 5 miles away.
I think we're talking different topics.
That's why I'm asking for clarification. When you say light source.
Yeah, light source, like a bright flash or something like that. And as you pointed out, it's probably better to be done at night, so there's no light pollution for the measurement.
Okay, so then are you comfortable then taking, let's say you take measurements at night of this light source. Are you saying that you're going to have no trouble just extrapolating out that data into the daytime and just carry over those values and say that you're going to get the exact same results in the daytime?
Well, I think the results would be, of course, different for the daytime because, the particles are not the same at day at night. So I don't know how really to go around this.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, I enjoyed that show today. That was a really, really, really enjoyable show, I have to say. I hope you all enjoyed it too. Did you give plenty of thumbs up? Did you like it? The chat seemed to be roaring along, that's one thing I can say. Just made a nice change actually to see the amount of comments that were going on inside the chat. Maybe having a moderator in there was the best call. I think so anyway. Right, so currently we have 2 moderators. That will be Lumberjack and Globusters Bob. If I do any more in the future, obviously you'll see when they pop up, but I'm going to keep them very low, and it will just be for timeouts only. So that's all it will be. Timed out till you basically just learn to behave. It's really that simple. Doesn't have to be going to the point of banning you, because eventually I'm sure after getting timed out, you'll basically just understand that you can't behave that way, and we can get back to doing some proper discussions, because it has been a bit of a shit show recently, but that's all going to change. Right, so everybody that was here tonight, thank you very much. We had I think we had close to 130 people watching, which was pretty cool. There are links in the description if you want to support the show in any way. I do have a Patreon, I do have a PayPal link, so you can PayPal direct, and there is a membership button too. And of course you can always support the show with a super chat as well if you so wish. So plenty of ways that if you want to support me in the show you can do that. All depends on the content though. If the content's good, I'm sure you'll chip in and help keep the show on the road. Right. That'll do for tonight, guys. I'll be back tomorrow with a new show, so it'll be 1st of September tomorrow. So hope you're all ready for that. Let's try and keep this momentum going and get the good content out there, and let's keep brainstorming and let's keep asking the questions. Right, guys, thank you very much, and I'll see you all in the next one.